薄いのアホ。
プリズムパワーメイクアップカードレディー。
Welcome to Shojo Tell, where we discuss shoujo manga and tell who's hot and who's not, talk about themes, and just generally geek out. Today, April 11th, 2026, we'll be shoujo and telling about the second half of Please Save My Earth by Saki Hiwatari. So that's volumes 11 through 21 to be extremely precise. I'm your host, Ashley McDonald, and I'm joined once again by Autumn. Hello, Autumn.
Hello, Ashley. Thank you for having me on for the second half.
Oh, that would be... that would be something if I started switching guests halfway through. I'm like...
And you didn't let them read the first half. They just had to read the second half.
I know that, like, I've been on podcasts that kind of did that, where I don't, like, you know, that, like, there was a Yona podcast that I was on where it was like, yeah, you want to come on for episodes 20 to 24 or something? I don't know. I don't remember the exact episodes, but I was like, yeah, I will have to go watch the other 19 episodes.
No, just do those last ones. That's great. Some stuff happens and then we get to 19.
I was like, that's cool. I've always just felt that that's too big. To some degree, I'm like, that would be fun. On another degree, I'm like, yeah, it's too much to ask, like, people.
Yeah. Some of us, you know, we do like the longer marathon-y things. So, you know, we're probably game. But yeah, for most people.
I know. But not everyone. Okay.
Not everyone.
Autumn, to refresh people on who you are, or if people are like, I don't care about the first half, I just want to hear the spicy takes of the end game here. Who are you?
Yeah, so I write sometimes online under the name The Moon in Autumn, which, even upon further reflection, is still probably unrelated to this manga. And my only credential is that I'm a person who's read a lot of manga. And I used to preside over the manga section at my local Borders for several years when I worked there. And I used that employee discount along with all those amazing Right Stuff sales. And so now me and my 16 shelves of manga and anime are happy to be here. So basically I like manga and I like liking it with other people. So this is perfect. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, wait, did we discuss last time? Did Moon and Autumn come from Sailor Moon? Because we discussed Sailor Moon in a brief author's note in here where she was like, hold up.
It still did not, actually. It came from my Master's of Fine Arts thesis. There was a poem that I wrote. The author here, Saki Hiwatari, mentioned that sometimes as a writer, right, you just get stuff that comes out of nowhere. And I got like this entire poem that contained that phrase, the moon in autumn. And I was like, I'm just going to go with it and I'm going to make it the name of my thesis because I'm terrible at naming stuff. Then I made it the name of all my blogs too. Yay.
All right. Well, I'm going to say that it's Sailor Moon, and Sailor Moon was maybe inspired by this. So therefore it does come back to this. There we go.
It all comes back to Please Save My Earth. She did save the earth and the moon. So, you know.
Yep. Okay. So everyone, you are here when we are discussing the second half of a series. So spoiler warning immediately. We are going to spoil all the things. Like truly all the things. So if you don't want that or haven't read Please Save My Earth or like whatever, I don't control you. But if you want to go read it, it is available from Viz Media, mostly digitally. You can go fight for some print copies if you really want to. And I will note that there's sequel manga that are not available in English. And last time Autumn told me that we don't talk about Bruno. So I did look up Embraced by the Moonlight, and I was like, oh, I can see why we don't talk about Bruno.
We don't talk about Bruno, no.
No. I was like, I regret this.
We don't talk about Moon, no. Okay.
No. I was like, okay. We should talk about what happened in this one before we maybe say what happens in the next one and why we don't talk about that. Okay. So again, to give people, I realized I didn't do this last time and I should have, but to give a rough place of where we're beginning our discussion here, last time we ended with Shion assaulting Mokuren and Mokuren coming out and being like, no, it's cool. Like, we're cool and we're engaged. Like, we're man and wife. It's cool. Everybody chill. And you're like, what?
Everybody was like, what?
What? Hold up. So we're in, like, that's volume 11 has to resolve this tension. Okay.
And it's like volume 11 through like 19 is, okay, so how do we get back to that point with full
Yes.
understanding of what happened.
And I was like, okay. So
You get to see a bunch of scenes over again, but with an overlay in the background of what's going through this other character's mind, which is maybe not what you expect.
I mean, yeah. So like we get a little bit of tension release. Like there's like maybe a chapter or two where it's like, okay, Shion explains, and I'm mad about this because I realized I want to start with this. Last time, we were talking about how Shion, like, what is his end goal here? Like, why does he behave like this? Like, what does he expect to happen? Right. And I realized I didn't answer that intelligently. I was like, I know because I used to / sometimes still do behave like this. It's like you want people to tell you that you're right? Like nobody ever says, Shion, you're so correct about your like, your dark thoughts. Like they come from like nobody enters his reality and is like, I see why you think this, right? And like, okay, we can come to an understanding or anything, right? Like they don't say he's ever right. And I was like, that's what he wants. And then the manga was just like, oh, he just wanted a kiss like Laszlo had given him, and he just really wanted a family. And I was like, excuse me. Excuse me.
Excuse.
I'm mad.
Right. And then I think, and maybe we'll get to this later, but like what complicates it is that in a weird way, Mokuren was going to provide what you were talking about, right? Like in her own mind, she has this one monologue where she's like, he's always honest with me and he's the only one that tells me the truth. And so I can trust him. And you're just like, oh, honey.
Like we can tell each other that we're correct and live in our own little like bubble that everybody else doesn't live in. Right. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Like, but also I think she wants the same thing that he does, in that she also just wants a family. And
I know, but the way to get there is first you have to be like, we're compatible and right. Like
right. Really get to know each other and also not rape anyone, like that's important, I feel. But what's so shocking is what she says right in that moment. And again, you have none of her background, you have none of her thoughts, really nothing about her as a character, and she's just like, oh yes, I want to be your family, and she's saying all these things and you're just like, where is this coming from? So anyway, she seems to want to be his family even after that. And then all of a sudden we're back on Earth.
Yeah, and I was like, hold up. Like, so I feel like part of the reason why I kind of read it not as evenly spaced, I don't want to say fast because I'm not like necessarily reading it faster, but I didn't read it like in a steadier pace than last time still, because I was just like, what? No, now I'm back in the Earth timeline, and you get to the point where you're in the Earth. So this is like my overarching thoughts about the general back half is, one, I think like the full ending, which we'll discuss like later, I think that stuff was mostly good. I was like, there was nothing like so far out of left field, but you still felt like the twists were like twisty and they were fun. I was like, okay, that overall is fine. Like once we get back to Mokuren, well, I wouldn't say that actually, because there's like I have like problems with the world building, but like, okay, once we get like most of Mokuren's perspective and then go back to the Earth timeline again, like from there on, so like maybe like volume 18 or 17 forward, I'm like, all right, I'm here. We're like in action mode. We're gonna resolve mysteries, like cool. But that middle section, I was just like, no, I'm getting annoyed because we as the reader know more information than most of the characters at this point. Like nobody knows that Rin is Shion still,
right?
Yeah, but like we do. And like Alice is like starting to put it together. And I'm not going to say that the way that she puts it together, like how quickly or not that she does, is unrealistic, because I think that's fine. It's just frustrating to read, for 15 or 16 volumes, right? To be like, you're also dumb.
Or no, for me, it's like, you're so close. Like I have all these notes, right? And like, I've got the words so close.
Alice just keeps saying like, so if I believe Rin was the last one alive and that Shion was also the last one alive, then
therefore,
what?
Come on, guys, come on.
I'm like, you're so close. Just please knock this door down.
and they're getting pieces. Like every single time they get really close, like they're getting one piece closer. And you're just like, okay, but I would really just like you to.
But you could just voice the like, even if it's doubtful, you know, like you could just voice it.
What if? No. Does not happen.
Please.
So an exercise in patience. And it was also like the pacing part of that, I think also had something to do with it. I enjoyed the extended flashback stuff. Like I liked reading it all in order, but it kills the momentum, right?
The momentum was all gone. Yeah. Like in volume 11, when you're suddenly not in the moon timeline anymore, I was like, no.
And it's funny because it's like, it's what you've wanted, right? You've wanted to be like, okay, what is going on in her head? Like what got her there? And you're like, oh, but I mean, maybe I didn't mean like 6 volumes in a row of that.
I was just like, I didn't want to hang out with shady Jinpachi for a volume. Like, why is he like, is he the real
there were
machination?
like 3 volumes where there was no Rin and I did not miss Rin. I was really pleased.
No, that was fun. But like everybody else was not doing anything, and you're like, oh, you start to miss Rin because you're like, at least he does stuff. Like
he sure does. But yeah. Meanwhile, Alice is sleeping. That's what she does.
Yeah, Alice is sleeping. Jinpachi is like, rah 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 rah. We should do the thing, and you like start to think that maybe he's smart and he's doing like secret machinations, and then it's like, no, he's just dumb.
He's just freaking out. Yeah, so some volumes, it's weird though, because some of those volumes really felt like they moved faster. Like I got through like 4 volumes in one day because I was just in like, I have to find out what happens next mode, which is funny to say about something you've read multiple times, but I didn't remember anything. So I can definitely see that making readers feel really ragged. There was a lot to think about along the way, but boy, it felt like the end of Double Overtime when we got to the end.
Yes.
Everybody just collapses.
It's that NHL game that went into like 5 overtimes. And you're like, it's 2 a.m. We're taking IVs. Like, you know?
Will they survive? Literally. Will I survive watching them survive? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my god. So that was my overall feeling. But then, I mean, in general, I really struggle with these kinds of stories where it's like it's all mystery and like it's just a slow burn mystery, and then we have to try to thread all the needles at the end, right? And I'm like, no, I hate.
You're not here for the suspense.
No.
You're just like, guys, figure it out. Let me know at the end.
Let me know. Let me see you have character dynamics. Oh, Reen is just trying to kill you all still.
Sad face.
So then I would say, I don't know, I tried to group it into like general little arcs here. So I did, allude to like, I felt like we had this like in between being in the actual moon timeline, we had this like reconfiguration around Jinpachi / Gyokuren, right? Like,
and as soon as we hit volume 11, I almost repented of all the nice things that I said about him in the first half, where I was just wow, people seem to be like ascribing a lot of like sinisterness to his stuff that I don't think is there. And then I'm like, really? You're gonna like prove me wrong on the first volume after I say that?
I know,
dude.
I was like, suddenly Jinpachi is very, very sinister. And like in the end, what it turns out to be is like in my head, this is how I think of it. I'm like, yeah, he's just a regular man. Like he's nice, but he doesn't understand boundaries and like he's kind of stupid and just like
he's
disrespectful.
A golden retriever?
Yeah, like
a little bit.
Like
very enthusiastic about his person and kind of dumb about everything else.
Yeah, but then there is like the like he will hurt you, but I don't think he means it, but he's just a pushy man, like
he's just very emotional. Yeah. Like, I think the author pointed that out too. She says like that ended up being the thing that was the same in her mind about both Jinpachi and Gyokuren, was that they were just really governed by their emotions in a way that was not useful sometimes and kind of hurtful in other times. But also, I couldn't tell if like Rin's manipulations, like if Rin was manipulating him into wanting the passwords, like if Rin had convinced him that that was important to put an end to things. Because Rin had a lot of, like, he had different reasons that he told everybody for different things.
See, like, at first, because the tone was so sinister, I started to be like, yeah, like, I started to be like, is Jinpachi actually Shion? Like, what's going on here? You know, like,
I mean, everybody's already an unreliable narrator. Why not that too? Why not?
Like, it just felt really hard turn. And so I don't know. Yeah, for like a volume or two, I really had convinced myself that like there were certain moments where, again, he would be like, and we have to do it for this reason. You'd be like, that's a dumb reason. So, like, but I think he genuinely believes it.
Pushing Issei, right? When he like was really pushing Issei to remember his password.
Yes.
Sinister? Yeah.
And so I was just like, does Jinpachi have, or like Gyokuren / Jinpachi have his own reason to gather? Like, I thought he had his own reason to gather the passwords. And
it
like
seemed
blow
like
up
it
the
was
moon.
just that he felt like if we get the same one he's always said, right? Like, if we get the passwords, then we can confirm this is a real thing, and then we can just leave it behind and go on with our lives. He seemed to think that that was a thing we could do.
I know, but then what? Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe we prematurely shifted the tone to make him sinister when we had not yet like gotten all the scenes of him in the past. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm sure that's probably what was intended, right? Was to make you think he was a more complicated character than he actually is.
And I was like, no, you're trying. Yeah, like, I guess in the end, I was like, I feel like you tried to add depth to him that was not there. Like, his arc is fine. It makes sense. I think that's a person, you know, but it's not like this deep arc, you know?
Right. Yeah. And then he kept, every time you would think he was doing something clever, he would do something obnoxious, like kiss Alice to try to get her to stop crying. And you're just like, okay, that was ooh.
Yeah, or he would say something that made you be like, oh, he has no plan. Like, there's no thoughts head empty, you know?
100 emotion, 0 thought. Okay.
Yeah. And I was just like, I'm so confused. Like, it just felt like, you know, it's such a momentum screech to a halt and like shift into something that didn't turn into anything. For
right.
2 volumes.
And it's also interesting that, like you said, in that, like, the shifts, right? And this felt very teenage to me, right? Where like 1 second he'd be being really mature, and then he would just do something where he'd just be like, okay, right.
Oh, Jinpachi, okay. Why are you like 15 or whatever?
Right? Yeah, like it was, boy, I guess you really are 17 years old. But one of those being, there was a very serious conversation they were having where he was acknowledging that he didn't have the right to be as ragey at Shion because Shion did not do anything to him. And that Mokuren, as the victim, you know, was the one who had the right to determine what the response was to some extent. And he was sort of acknowledging that Gyokuran knew that. And then, you know, he would do something dumb.
Yeah. I mean, definitely when you're watching Gyokuran in the Moon timeline, you're like, bro, why are you talking over Mokuren, who is the one who is the victim for sure? Like, there's a lot of scenes where you're like, I know you're going to get there because we've already seen that in volume 11 before we like shifted into this. But what are you doing?
And again, it's not like he's consciously making it about him. It's just, he's just flying off the handle.
And like, he does think that he's morally correct, right? Like,
yeah, I don't even know if I put this in the notes, but that was one of the things that was so fascinating. Every time anyone, especially Gyokuran, attempted to tell Mokuren, you don't understand how dangerous Shion is like she would always be like, I don't understand why they're being so mean. And I'm like, they're not. They're being honest. They know him better than you do.
Yeah.
They are correct. They're 100% correct. And you're just like, well, I guess I can't trust them. They're mean. You're like, meanwhile, Shion is being 8 million times more mean to you. And you're like, I can trust him.
Oh, yeah. I definitely, I think somewhere in my notes, I don't think I wrote it in the doc, though, where I was like, okay, I mean, as a person who definitely has gotten lots of criticism at work in particular of being like, you're too negative, right? Like, it's not, I was like, ooh, the conflation of being mean or negative or something, right, with honesty is like, you know, like the same way that we're always like, dark literature is like real and hardcore literature. And if it's happy and fluffy, it has nothing to say about
there's no
nature.
Truth.
Yeah,
if
there's
it's
no
all
truth.
Just happy, and you're like, well, I mean, they just have different truths to tell you.
Yeah, I was like, are you never happy? Like ever?
And so much of this, like, I really loved. Oh man, I'm forgetting his name now. Our psychic dude guy that we like.
Oh, Mikuro.
Mikuro. The point of being able to have another life is that you get another chance to try to be happy, and the person who figures out how to be happiest is winning.
Yes, that was nice.
And the callback obviously to Laszlo and Shion being like, no.
No.
No, happy, no.
I hear your words and I reject.
And they make me sad, and the only thing I know how to do when I'm sad is be mad and hurt people.
Is make somebody else sad.
Right? Oh, I felt so bad for Mikuro this entire time.
Oh, Mikuro deserved to be in a better manga. Yeah, for like Mikuro, you know.
Right. Although I did think it was a little bit sad that she kept bringing up that he exists in this other one, and she's like, it's not written yet. It's going to be super depressing because his actual life is much more like Shion's. And I'm like, oh dear.
I know.
Don't do that to Mikuro. We love Mikuro.
Came out with him a million years ago. Nobody's read this. Like, he's just like in like a random side story, and like I want to expand it, and like you're like, oh girl, no. Like,
once you told me that he has this horrible life, I'm like, I don't know if you want to expand it. Maybe just leave that in your head.
he was pretty. He seemed like pretty good as he was. This like it's good.
He seemed like a pretty reasonable, mature person. So I'm real sorry it apparently didn't work out for him in her head.
Yeah. I did like when the manga kind of had to remind me that he was an adult in one of the, they were, you know, towards the end.
Yeah, he's like 20 or 19 or something.
Yeah,
so he's like 2 or 3 whole years older than they are.
I was like, does this count? Because they're like, oh, we should have never trusted that the adults could, you know, like solve it for us in involving Mikuro and like Tamura and Ayako or whatever. And then he's like, no, put your faith in me, small children.
No, we want to help.
I want to be helpful. You're like, okay.
Which you also, again, like that ties back to him being like, I have these powers for a reason and it's not to hurt people. And he's like, wait, this is a place where I can help people. It's not going the way I thought it would.
It's not going according to Keikaku. Keikaku means
sad face.
Sad face, yeah. So my overall take on like a solid 2 volumes of like, why am I hanging out with these Earth kids? Like, is Jinpachi cooking up something? No, we just, all right, cool.
And then the whole like Rin's plot to like, man, his grudge against Tamura is
so, yeah, I know.
Oh my goodness, child.
So like for a lot of this time, Rin is hospitalized because he had that fight with Mikuro, which again, Mikuro is a sweet boy and he did not mean to hurt Rin that badly. They just they discovered that they had very different powers that didn't mix good together. So Rin is like hospitalized, and like because he keeps using his powers to go do shady Rin things, you know, in the night or whatever, his mom's out there.
Shenanigans. Although they make it sound like they think he's looking for Alice or I don't know.
Oh yeah, they were like he wasn't actually accomplishing much. Yeah, at this time, he's not
every
actually.
Time he jumps, he like ends up back in the hospital.
Yeah. So he's like,
maybe stop doing that for a little bit, dude, please.
he's reopening all his wounds. Like he keeps opening whatever stomach wound that he has, basically. So they're like, he's not getting any better. It's terrible. Wah, 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 wah.
It's so weird. And he won't let them give him drugs, because when they do, he has understandably terrible dreams of, unfortunately, a lot of the time when he was insane, like when Shion was insane. And so they're exactly like the hardest kinds of dreams where like you don't know what's happening, you don't understand, you can't change anything. Like you just feel the sense of menace and horror. And
yes.
so I get why he doesn't want that. But then sweet boy Mikuro is like, I should go talk to him and let him know that I want to be friends and I want to help him. And Rin responds in exactly the same way he does anytime anyone reaches out to him, which is by freaking out and overreacting.
Yes, multiple characters try to go to see Rin at this time. The one machination he is succeeding at was he was like, okay, I'm going to take piano lessons with Ayako because that's the way to get to Tamura. And Tamura doesn't know that that's happening. And then when he finds out that it is, he freaks out.
He freaks out, understandably.
He's like, this is the kid who broke my ribs. And she's like, he's a sweet boy, Tamura, shut up. And he's like, no, for real.
And then he sort of manhandles Ayako and is like, oh, dude, that was...
I know.
I'm
that
not
was
really
a
a fan
bad
of
look.
that, but apparently they sat down and talked it out like reasonable adults discussing children who have reincarnated adults in their heads. And ESP.
It was so funny because they were like, it took 3 hours and Mikuro was just there being awkward in a different room watching a movie. Like,
while Tamura and Ayako talked.
mhm.
But it's okay. So then they all go into hiding, and that's what okay means at this point in the story.
Yeah. Even though they acknowledged later, they're like, is it? Well, at this point, they're like, Rin is like incapacitated because he's injured. But like at a different point, they're like, oh, we have to keep hiding. We have to keep moving. But wait, Rin can just go anywhere.
There was some very funny logic around that where you're kind of like, well, I'm not sure that I agree with where you landed logically, but
no,
go
I was
forth
about to
and
say that
conquer.
too. I was like,
whatever.
No, you guys started at the right place where you were like, she should stay in her apartment because he doesn't want to go home to his parents.
And it's right next door.
And it's right next door. So the likelihood that they would hear him is high. And instead you went to exactly the wrong place and said, let's move her around. And I was like, no. Anyway. So the breaking point with Rin comes like, everybody comes and keeps confronting him. And then his mom actually, like at this point, I think he's already disassociated, like we get further on in the manga, they're like Rin and Shion have become distinctly different entities that live within Rin's body, which like, again, wasn't surprising. you get that by this point, I feel. And so that like the clarification comes where they were like, Rin kind of like lost the internal battle with Shion, but he still has like some sway over it, right? So Rin's mom starts to be like, this is not my child, like really hardcore. Like she's already been on this train, but she's like, this is just straight up not my child.
And again, she's not wrong. Like there's so many things where they're like, oh, people seem like they're being hysterical, but they're actually correct.
Yeah.
They're not
and so Alice
wrong.
tells her that she's not wrong.
Right.
Which like cool, I guess. I don't know.
And that was a big act of faith because this is really like, this is the first time other than Tamura that anybody's really reaching out to an adult and saying, I trust you with this information and I trust that you will not ignore what I'm telling you if you love the people who are involved in this. But Mikuro was in the room when his mom came to visit, and Mikuro had made Shion/Rin really mad. And so he had opened the door with his psychic powers to encourage Mikuro to leave. And his mom was standing on the other side of the door. And she, understandably, like that was her breaking point. She's like, so nobody opened that door, right? Like, and then she goes into full on like, who are you and what have you done with my son? You're not my son. And, that's hard for both Shion, I think, and Rin. But Rin freaks out, blows out all the windows, disappears. Mikuro apparently says, "So sorry," and then also disappears. And
sorry, gotta go now.
But this is hard for Mikuro, right? Because his mother rejected him for having psychic powers. So in the background for the next couple volumes, he's feeling terrible and responsible because now Rin has disappeared and nobody knows where he is. They just know he's really hurt. And, Mikuro's just like, I made him get rejected by his mom. It's all my fault, and sad.
Poor, everybody's having a time, yeah. And so Rin winds up, again, purposely running away. And then we introduce some new characters.
Yay!
Yay? Okay. They're pretty weird.
Nice underworld type characters.
Yeah. So Rin winds up getting found by a man who is houseless. And, we get some setup of him. His name is Boone. Boone, is that how you say it? I don't know. I read it like English, like Boone. Yeah.
Right. I was looking at that being like, I don't even know what that would sound like in Japanese, because that's not a combination of letters they would even have.
Yeah, I was like, so I assume that it's supposed to be
just gonna
English.
say Boone.
Yeah. So this man named Boone finds him, and you get some setup where you're like, clearly he is seen as undesirable, shady, possibly dangerous by pedestrians just walking by, normal people stuff because we suck. But he also has some telepathic powers that basically made him houseless, because again, he gets rejected for being too empathetic and all this stuff. So using these powers, he finds Rin in a bush bleeding out, And great, because he happens to know a shady doctor man named Dr. Mori, who's also walking by at the time and is like, yo, Dr. Mori, what's up? Come over here. a small child needs your help in these bushes. And he's just like, what?
And then he's like, oh my goodness, you are correct. A small child does need help.
A small child really does need help in here. So they take him back. They take Rin back to the shady doctor practice that's under the books. And you're like, cool. And when Rin wakes up, he makes everything float because he's like, where am I? And Boone is like, no, he's just scared. He's not a bad kid. This guy is just immediately in love with Rin, and you're like, what?
It is fascinating because they make it sound like you said, part of the problem, part of the reason why he had to leave society was because he could hear what everyone thought. And that was too much. But then over time, as he spent less time with people, that it sounds like that got kind of muffled, and it's maybe it's coming back a little bit with Rin. But then you're like, okay, but if he could read any thoughts, he would not feel warm and fuzzy towards Rin. So I have some questions.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's really getting the actual the real emotions that are under everything. So we said, Shion as Rin has one way to show emotion, and that's whatever I'm feeling, anger, lash out. Maybe Boone is just getting this person is scared out of their mind, and so I know what it's like to be scared out of my mind, so let's be nice to him. And
he's not getting the mad vibes,
the plots, the intricate plotting and the evil shenanigans and all that. He's just scared, let's comfort.
I had taken Boone's thing to be he actually, the way that it works was more that he couldn't feel exactly what people are, or hear their thoughts exactly anymore, but he still could get rough feelings of everyone. But again, that doesn't really explain why he wouldn't just feel all the murder vibes off of Rin, unless Rin is doing Rin things of purposely force field masking it in his mind and whatever, I
have
you assume that Rin has counter attacks to Boone's powers, but that's not overtly said at any point. I don't know.
It's a mystery.
And I wrote that I really thought Boone had big Laszlo vibes.
Yeah, and it's not just the beard. Although I'm well, there's two bearded characters in the entire thing. maybe that's her not subtle way, but also I don't know, because the idea was that Kya like was a telepathic cat, right? So they could feel emotions, and they were like, when somebody was distressed, they would comfit them. So I'm like,
It's
I don't
both
know,
Boon
maybe he
and
was Kya. I don't know, is that
it's
possible?
both Boon and Kya in one person.
Yes, they united.
United. Oh,
We've solved it.
great. I love it. You did also ask if I thought anybody else felt like they were reincarnated, and I did.
Okay.
I mean, you get like the overt implication that Haruhiko is like Tamura's brother, but I didn't really think that he was the reincarnation, obviously, because we get that he's Shikaido or whatever. But I was definitely like, is Hajime the reincarnation of Mode, who we have not talked about yet?
Yeah, that was one that I had wondered also. But the age. So here's where, you mentioned the world building stuff, and there are world building hiccups, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime that you write a serial manga, or in Japan, a lot of stuff is published like, monthly in chapters. Anytime you publish like that, it just seems like such an act of faith because you're believing that somehow you'll either pull it all together or people won't notice the things that don't make sense.
You need a little bit of both, I think.
And so this is one of those places where that happens, right? Because it's so important for you to know that Rin was alive for 9 more years alone on the moon, and that's why he's 9 years younger. And that's like set in stone. But then they make a throwaway reference to another character that they're saying, must be the reincarnation of this person who like somebody else, but the ages don't match up. And so I'm like, okay, well, if that's true, then I'm sticking with Hajime's mode.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, I can see how that's not supposed to make sense. Yeah, under the rule that we're given there, because she dies first, but.
And then in those last couple of volumes where all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, time travel too. And you're just like, what? Okay, fine. Sure, whatever.
We had to bring time travel into it. Always.
Just a reminder, this is not hard sci-fi for anybody who's this far into it and doesn't know that. This is not about hard science.
No, this is about vibes. This is about vibe science. Yes. So I think the other important part that happens in this little subplot is that we get more information about Tamura's brother via bringing in Tamura's supposed to be former rival Majima. And I was like, I'm very confused.
And I had wanted to know more about Tamura's past, but I didn't necessarily want it to be on a 3-page info dump. But also I could fully understand why it's not like she could just suddenly take a volumes worth of stuff and show you the Tamura's past. So fine, sure, a letter that Rin commissioned some private detective to pull together for him about Tamura's past. Sure, whatever.
Yeah, Rin is expositioning stuff that he's had a detective find for him, and you're like, what is happening right now?
He can call people on the phone and sound like whoever he wants. It's fine.
It was just so weird. I was just like, what is, because you don't know where we're going with it. And you're just like, why? What's happening?
He's just obsessed with Tamura. And that's the thing. I just don't understand his misplaced rage at Tamura. Is he just mad that there's somebody looking out for Haruhiko? And he feels like Shikaido shouldn't have it. It doesn't make logical sense.
He's
but
the way to get at the 2 other ESP people in this manga is through Tamura, who doesn't have ESP.
And he's sort of right, because if he can get Tamura in trouble, they're gonna go help him. So he's not wrong about that, but man, he is real obsessed.
He's very obsessed. So yeah, so basically in the past, Tamura was Yakuza.
He was wild.
He was
in a motorcycle gang, and then he joined the Yakuza. Wow.
And so he had a rival gang that they fought with in the Yakuza, who was
both in the motorcycle gang days and in the Yakuza. So the other guy joined a rival Yakuza organization so they could continue fighting into adulthood.
Yes. Again, his name is Majima. And so you're like, okay.
Hello.
So suddenly
Majima?
Majima is here.
Majima arrives on the scene.
And you're like, cool. And Rin basically makes Majima believe again, because he can talk like anybody and make up all this Rin crap. He's like, Tamura's back in the Yakuza and he sent people to mess up your boys. And Majima's like, oh, yes, now, like Rin just found somebody who could be even more obsessed with Tamura.
But what was interesting is that at first Majima was like, no, that's not what's happening. And then there's this sudden reversal somehow where he's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And you're like, what?
What? Especially, okay, you get backstory so we get some backstory about Tamura's brother who had committed suicide. And it was that Tamura's brother didn't want Tamura to be in the Yakuza anymore.
But thought that he was in the Yakuza because he was needing to take care of his brother.
Right. That is the critical part. Yeah, so he's like, he's only in the Yakuza because he has to take care of me. So he like goes to Majima and is like, leave my brother alone. Like,
please. Yeah, like he wants to go clean and you need to leave him alone for that to be able to happen.
Yes. And that gambit obviously doesn't work. But then to show commitment.
Yeah, it sort of does.
It does because Tamura's brother decides, okay, the way to show commitment to this and also to like, presumably if I'm the problem, if I remove myself from the situation, then there's no problem anymore. So yeah, so he commits suicide both to be like, if I'm the only thing keeping Tamura in the Yakuza, then he doesn't have a reason to be anymore. And Majima can see that I meant what I said, like leave him alone.
And sends a letter to be delivered after he dies saying, like, I'm begging you on my life, please leave my brother alone.
Yes, like don't drag him back into this. And so Majima's like, okay, I respect that.
That was extreme.
That was extreme.
I guess I'll say okay.
I guess I'll be nice, for once in my life. But then yeah, now he's back here and he rolls up on Tamura at one point and shoots him in the leg, and you're like, all right, Yakuza man is here now to cause Yakuza chaos.
And then rescue comes instantly in a questionable way. I'm like, was he watching? Like, how did he know? How did Mikuro know that like this was happening at this time? Because he just swoops in from nowhere and hilariously scares this guy out of his mind. And then my favorite line from that is he's like, okay, I'm gonna put him down and I need you to intimidate him because I'm not real good at that.
I wasn't
like,
very good at it.
You're pretty good at that.
I was like, you just flew him up into the sky and like he should have pooped his pants.
Clearly he is a man of steel.
Yeah. But like he is freaking out. So like it was pretty funny that Mikuro came back to the ground and was like, okay, we've got the situation under control now. Can you beat him up even though he shot you in the leg? Because I can't beat him up.
You stand up. You've been shot in the leg.
Yeah. The two, like Haruhiko's also there. So Mikuro and Haruhiko, who have ESP powers, are both like, we're gonna stand back and let Tamura, who is injured, like beat up this man now.
Verbally, at least.
And they're like watching him and they're like, oh, he is so good at it, isn't he?
He is very into, like, he pulls out his Yakuza intimidation of children being naughty, but what's funny is I wish he would have just like explained. Like I feel like we could have saved some later shenanigans if he just been like, hey, somebody's using you for their own ends. Instead he's just like, I'm not doing this. Go away.
Go away. You're annoying. Don't shoot me again. Get out of here. You ever come back, I won't shoot you. Just don't come back here.
I'll be mad at you again.
Mad.
Okay. And then that continues. I'm like, that's a whole...
The whole thing. We're skipping ahead. But yeah, I just thought it was so funny that it was like, suddenly I need this new character. And I was like, did you need this new character?
And I feel like the answer is yes, but in a Rin overcomplicates everything that he plots, or Shion does, sort of way, in that like there probably was an easier way to get there, but it almost works, but then it's too complicated and that's why it doesn't work.
Yeah. Can we also acknowledge that we never see anything from Takashi again?
Takashi has turned over a new leaf and is living a life happily, not relying on an adult man
to do everything for him. Very good. He rode off into the sunset so that Tamura could focus on his 2 ESP boys. Great.
Farewell, Takashi.
Yeah. Bye.
You are no longer a target. Have a good life.
I don't miss you. Cool. Cool. Okay. So from all these shenanigans, we end up, Rin is pressing, right? Like he's gathered together small children who are now part of his gang who recruit Majima. Just regular children who are impressed by his ESP powers. He's like, cool. Go rough up. Again, Majima really doesn't look very cool in this manga.
Go rough up Yakuza guy.
Yeah. This Yakuza guy, 2 small children are like, hey, we know who really messed up your boys. And like, we'll tell you if you buy us some hamburgers.
Okay. And then he's like, okay, I bought you hamburgers, tell me. And they're like, their whole point is they're supposed to be delaying him. So they're like, we can't talk while we eat.
Yeah, they're like, we're eating our hamburgers now. Calm down. And you're like, okay.
And meanwhile, they're explaining, they're letting out little bits and things about like some of the details that had originally made Majima doubt what people were saying when they were like, oh yeah, we can't find the bullets and all this. They're like, yeah, it's because he doesn't use bullets. He uses psychic brain things.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, and I just met the psychic bullet type of guy. So I believe that exists, right? Like, oh boy. All right. So that's how Majima gets recruited. So Rin now has small gang of children and Majima and some Yakuza by extension of Majima. And they're all like starting to press on going to find, Alice for real and, get rid of all these jokers to execute Shion's plan. And so our crew that's when they make the bad decision to move Alice everywhere, which is the wrong decision. But anyway, she runs away before that because why not? Right.
And before that, even it probably makes sense to jump back to the 5 or 6 volumes back to the other story, which is what's next in your notes anyway. But so Alice has been fighting these memories, and then she had decided that she needed to face them. And this was something that just kept getting repeated, and it made me kind of sad every time, which is like every time she'd be like, I have to do this for Rin. And then everyone else that she would talk to would generally give her some version of, you need to do it for you.
Yeah,
right? You need to get past this. You need to remember this so that you can move on. And that it's not like the fear of it isn't, hovering over you for the rest of your life. And she still decides she's going to do it for Rin. So
she never gets over the Rin.
She still feels responsible for, knocking him off the balcony and all that. So they go on their school trip, and
yes, this is while Rin is like gathering his gang.
Right. So they go on the school trip, and boy, there's so much that happens, even though you sometimes feel like there's not much going on. They also meet up with Tamura and Haruhiko, and Haruhiko tells them the truth about who he is, who Rin is, what happened. And as we've discussed previously, when he explains what he did to Shion, that ended up, again, not on purpose, but ended up causing him to live alone for 9 years on the moon and go insane. And Jinpachi, in his righteous anger at how dare, flies off the handle. And I'm sitting here being like, my dude, you were the chief person advocating for him to be exiled alone for the rest of his life.
I was definitely like, aren't you glad? Like,
No, not as in like, but more as in like kind of
being
how dare
hypocritical.
you
Yeah.
be so morally outraged about this person doing the same thing you did. Like, just take a second here and reflect a little.
Yeah, no reflection on this boy's part. I was just like, you again don't get to be the mad one here. Like, calm down.
And that's what kicks off again that conversation, and just a lot of Issei being like, "Yep, you don't get like you don't get." Calm down, buddy. And also, I was reminded at some point in the story, because Issei still has the empathic power, right? Mm-hmm. So Issei still feels more strongly the emotions of the people around him. So the fact that he's always around Jinpachi, who's always just flying off the handle, makes it real hard for Issei to like.
Oh yeah, I mean, Issei generally, after having gotten over like his feelings for Jinpachi / Gokuran, starts to be like, "You're wrong," right? Like fly off the handle in his own way, and is like, "You're dumb. You're dumb."
He's no longer tied into this old like Enju's like, I'm in love with him forever no matter how badly he treats me, because that's what true love is. Issei is not at there anymore. Like, he's just not there anymore. So he can actually say no and stop and redirect and go back to being a friend instead of that weird place he was occupying.
Weird place where they were both like, so yes. So Alice, Jinpachi, and Issei are on their school trip. People are trying to convince Alice that she needs to do it for her. She's just like, I need to do it for Rin. At one point, she sees Haruhiko show up as Shukaido, and this, like, she's been feeling sick since they got to Kyoto or whatever. But then she falls into like a deep fever where she's mostly just sleeping, because that's what you do when you're sick. You just sleep all day.
For days and days and days.
Days and days and days.
And your family's like, well, we'll just put you in your futon and I guess you'll wake up sometime.
Just drink some fluids when you wake up, briefly or whatever.
Meanwhile, Brother Hajime is out of his mind, and I just want to give him a hug this whole time because he doesn't know what's going on. He knows something's going on, but he doesn't know what's going on, and he can't help. And it's real hard on him.
Yes. So then we get the probably 3-ish equivalent of whatever Shion got volumes of Mokuren's memories. So here we go. We've got to talk about Mokuren's whole past now. Great. Okay. So here's where, the world building, I was like, what we doing? Right?
There were so many moments of me being like, wow, if you wanted this to make sense, there were some things you could have done and you didn't do any of them. So
the thing that broke me was at one point when Mokuren's, this isn't going to make sense if you haven't read it, but it's when Mokuren's grandparents kidnap her, right? And they take the spacecraft, and I was like, so you did have space.
You did have flying cars.
Flying cars. And we were just talking about normal cars. Give me a break.
Maybe it was a flying car. Well, no, and that wasn't even the worst part. I was like, and then they just filed legal paperwork to get custody. I'm like, that's not how that works. You can't just kidnap somebody and be like, hey, we'd like to file some paperwork that this child is ours.
Even though her parents did not consent and are not dead. Like, what?
But here was the thing. Here was where it could have made sense if they said something like, if you renounce your kichi, then you become a second-class citizen. And you don't have the same rights that other people do, in which case that whole situation would have made more sense. But nope, didn't say
no, but yeah, that's not what happens, because they clearly have, her parents clearly have control over her from the start. So you're like, okay, yeah. So the whole setup is apparently if you give birth to one of the kichis, you, your family is set up forever.
Your family is set up for the duration that the kichi is fulfilling their duties as a kichi.
Right. Which, what I was mad about too was that I was like, you never saved any money. I guess if you think that this is going to go on forever, you don't have to save money, but that also sounds bananas.
They did not strike me as decent people. Like they really didn't. So I fully believed from what we saw of them that yes, they really were that dumb and selfish.
Okay.
That they did live an extravagant lifestyle, that they were really happy that they got to do so, that they honestly didn't care about losing the children. They got set for life and they really enjoyed that lifestyle. And how dare you renounce your kichi and now we have to work.
Yeah.
And
Too old to work.
No, we must kidnap your child and claim it's ours so that we can go back to our high roller. I don't even.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay.
Because it's like, so if you give birth to a child that has a kichi, you have to give up your child because they have to go live in paradise.
After 3 years. So you get to spend 3 years with them.
Yeah.
At which point they're 3. And then if they're having a normal 3 experience, that would be mean to say, but so yeah, you get 3 years with them, but then they want to make sure that they are doing all of the indoctrinating and raising of your child. They don't really want them to remember their parents.
Yeah. So then like the compensation is both supposed to be for like the kichi are like angels basically, right? Or like some kind of divine.
Yeah, like saints. Yeah, where they're treated like more divine than regular humans.
Like, because they do have some powers, but they're like still pretty limited. So it's like compensation for like this child is doing a service to the government / religious community, like whatever setup this is, unclear. No division between church and state. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, there is a little bit of one, but yeah, for the most part, it does seem like it's just built into their society.
Yeah,
the same way.
Okay. Plus, I guess they're compensating you for like, we kidnap your child when they're 3 years old, right? So like, okay.
This doesn't seem like a farming community where it's like we're taking the labor of your child and therefore we are compensating you for it. Again, it just is, I don't know.
Right.
It makes vague overarching sense, right? We're taking your child, we are compensating you for that. And, Mokuren's parents are not really fans of that.
Yeah. So Mokuren's parents' names are Rojian, I don't know, and Marge with a J.
And I'm not completely convinced that's her whole name. I think that's just her like shortened name, like Roja was.
She's got to be Tesla, whatever. They all
Marge
have like
something.
Yeah.
She should have another name, unless it's like Marge. I don't know.
Yeah. So these are both ones. They were both kichi, but then they fell in love, and they were like, the kichi make no sense because they're supposed to spread like love and joy to people, but they do not get to experience love for themselves because the whole thing is if you consummate a love, then you lose your kichi.
Right.
And they're like segregated by gender and like all this stuff, right?
Until they're 20.
Okay. Is that what it was? I was like, is there a rule? I forget. Okay.
It was, until they're 20. And then at that point they're allowed to leave and go outside. And that's, I guess, why they're also allowed to meet the other kichi.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense. And then, like they get kidnapped when they're 3, so they don't know like the love of their parents, so they're like, this system's whack, right? Like we choose to have real love with each other. And we're told that her dad in particular, Rojian, he is like hyper empathetic, so this makes him a big crybaby, and obviously it's a struggle to like be near tons of people
and not be able to help them. Like that seemed to be the thing that kind of broke him. And once you see what the duties of the kichi are, you're kind of like, oh yeah, he wouldn't have been able to fulfill those because he would have just been a crying mess the whole time. So like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, like in this way, I guess like kichi kind of perform the role of like a priest, where it's like if somebody dies, people want a kichi to come and say words and like comfort people, or even before they pass away, like when they're sick, they want them to come and sing because their songs are so beautiful and comforting, even if they can't like heal the person or whatever. And so you can see how her dad would be like, no, this is torture.
So yeah, he was not cut out for this. What's interesting is that I'm not sure if they got married and left and then had her, because there's one thing they say that makes it sound like they just slept with each other, didn't tell anyone, and then had a baby, because they said she was born in paradise.
Oh, yeah. But their Kichi would have disappeared.
Yeah, so maybe it's just another like, oops, there wasn't, like she keeps saying in her author's notes, which I think is really adorable. She's just like, I do not have a staff.
I do not have.
Like, at least not until like 92-ish, right? So like it's all me. So like she didn't have somebody sitting around, checking continuity for her before she did everything. And then it's like, when you are a Kichi, it's not genetic. So it's not passed down from parents to children. And as far as they knew, it had never happened. And so the fact that they both gave up their Kichi status, had a child, and that child was a Kichi, like I cannot even imagine the sadness on the day of her birth for them. Like I'm sure it was the best moment ever, but also seeing that your child had a Kichi and being like, oh no, I know exactly what's going to happen to her.
Yeah, like they were trying to escape the system, and they were like, we're doing the one thing like all humans have. And it's very silly because Alice like can't figure out like what they meant by this, but they're like,
I can't either. Like,
wait.
I love Mokuren couldn't either. She's just like, I'm really frustrated that I don't understand what my mom went when she said that.
And I was just like, she means having babies.
But no, because then Mokuren's miracle later on was not that. So I don't know.
We end this manga with a baby in the earth, so like, I'm pretty sure that's it.
The whole earth is their child. Okay, yep, that makes sense. Okay.
Yes, come on now.
All right.
Okay.
I'm following you.
Yeah. So they're like, humans have the ability to create, like normal humans have the ability to create miracles because they can create life, they can have babies, and that's like the one thing that's like denied to Kichi, right? They're like, this is so dumb. So
right.
Yeah,
and so they get 3 years with her. You get to know her dad. You get to know her dad a lot more than you get to know her mom, and he's he's fantastic. But I feel like one of the best parts is when she's just like, I don't want a Kichi, I don't know why I have one, why is Sargilum so mean, and why do I have to leave you? And he's like, well, I don't want you to be lost. I don't want to lose you either. And so he's like, wait, so I'll draw you this map of paradise.
Oh, yeah.
So about all the secret passageways and stuff. And so he draws this elaborate map and he walks her through it. And then the mom comes in and she's like, hey, hon, you do know the boys' side and the girls' side are completely different. So that map is useless. And you're just like, well, she's kind of mean.
Yeah, she seemed kind of sassy. And I was like, yeah. I'm here for sassy mom.
So she seems to, like, in that scene, I'm like, okay, she has some personality in a couple of those things where you're just like, I get it. Like, yep, she does seem like somebody willing to buck a system enough to basically like give up what seems like a perfect life to go live in poverty with somebody that she loves.
Yeah. But then later, like when he dies first.
Wait, talk about the rescue too, though, because she does get taken. We mentioned the grandparents, her parents come and kidnap her and turn her in so they can get paid again. And then her dad sneaks in to rescue her.
Yes. Her dad kidnaps her back.
And then they go into hiding and they have to go into like the far northern latitudes where there are fewer and fewer plants. And then, I guess they always die young. At least
yes,
the men,
we are told that
Kichi
men die younger than women, which again, you're like, why? Random plot point for
it's just the way it is. So yeah, and then it's just Mokuren and her mom, and that was where I sort of did like, her mom didn't come to rescue her. She actually seemed kind of not sad, but like not a big fan of the rescuing her and then going into hiding plan. And then when it was just her and Mokuren, she's just like, honey, I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna have to send you back to paradise. And I was just like, I get you're grieving, right?
Yeah.
but you really do love her. And I like, wow. And then in the end, she doesn't turn Mokuren back into paradise. She dies. And that's how Mokuren ends back in paradise. And you're just like, that's a lot. She's like 5 at this point.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. So you start to begin to see the parallels between Mokuren and Shion's lives. Because now Mokuren is going off to live with nuns. Essentially.
In a place where she does not have any say about what her life is like or what she does. Like, she's completely caged in, even more than he is in some ways. Yeah, she's treated nicer, but not necessarily, because she gets picked on by her fellow Kichis as well, because they know about her parents and they do not let her forget about that for 1 second.
Yeah, this is what I struggled with, where I was like, there's nobody else in this system who thinks the system is dumb. Like, what?
And maybe the answer is the others were not raised by people who had been raised in paradise. Like, they were raised by parents who were much more willing to give over custody of them because they thought they were giving their children over to this like perfect life of plenty. And that's not exactly true. And so the way that you raise a child that you know you're going to have to give up to people who you think are going to and are to some extent going to provide for their every need and want and all this kind of stuff, like it's just different. So it was pretty clear that the way that her parents raised her and, you know, lavished her with love and tried to preemptively undo some of that programming, I think was probably different. So I think that also set her apart. And then also, you know, being kidnapped and then coming back older, like there's just, she struggled to connect with her peers at every level in every situation for totally understandable reasons.
I know, but maybe this is something that would make more sense if, you know, you were like, it doesn't seem like they live in like a feudal farming society. And I'm like, okay, but that's also where it would make more sense for everybody to be like, yeah, it's cool that you kidnapped my child and took them like to a better place, you know, like
right. Like their lives seemed pretty okay. So the idea of like, we're taking your child to a better place, we promise. Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. And yeah, she never connected with any of the other people. And then she was so defiant and she was so prickly in a way that, again, as you mentioned, is a little bit similar to Shion. Like, she's being a real vocal heretic. She's offending everybody. She's saying the things out loud that are alienating her from everybody. And then she ends up alienated from everybody. And it's sad.
Yes.
But also, good job, Sassy Mokuren. You say your truth.
Yes. So this is where she has her nun is named Mode or Mode. I don't really know how it wants me to pronounce it. I was like, Mode? Really? Like,
probably Mode actually makes more sense.
Yeah. So I was like, so Mode is here being her trusty partner. But because Mokuren is such a troublemaker, at, you know, one of the things that Mokuren does is be like, yeah, I want to go sleep with a boy and lose my Kichi, right? Like that's what she.
This is her goal in life.
Yeah, this is her one goal in life. So at one point, she's just chilling at a window, and there's a boy walking by on the ground, and he just somehow scales a wall.
He is part of a circus, so at least that's explained.
Oh, right. Okay, sure. He's part of a circus, so he knows how to casually scale walls that are totally built for scaling and circus tricks.
And nobody stops him, like guarding the super secret guardy place that no one's... It's fine.
It's fine. So he's here now, and he's like, hey, what's up, babe? And she's like, oh, you're a male, basically. This could be good. You're my boyfriend now. That's like basically what happened.
She's like, I don't know. And it's hard to tell ages, but I feel like that's like an 11 or 12-year-old. Like that's about how old she maybe seems then.
Yeah. They are not old. No, yeah. They are children. And she's like, cool. You're my boyfriend now. And like, yeah, let's go on dates. So she has to like figure out clothes because they don't wear clothes in paradise.
Yeah, we did not mention that, which is another reason why this is never going to get made into an anime.
Oh yeah, we don't do the fully naked all of the time sequences anymore.
There's only so many strategic ways that you can place hair, and actually, part of me was expecting that to happen, and then they just didn't. And I'm like, you could have had her hair be long enough to do that the whole time. You just didn't. So
Yeah, like some scenes you're like, okay, you're trying, and then other scenes she was like, I don't know, here's some nipples, like you're like, okay. I was not ready for the female presenting nipples right now. I don't know why we didn't do hair this time, but we did hair last time. Okay, fine.
Choices were made.
I noted in, like, I guess in the second to last volume, like at the end of the volumes, it hadn't really been doing advertisements for like other Viz properties or anything. I guess that was like a newer invention. Like sometimes it wrote out series that you might like, but it didn't have the full like page advertisements. But then at the end of 20,
mine did. All of my volumes did.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah. And I was thinking about that because there were, we talked about that, and looking at that lineup, I was like, wow, it was a different time.
Yeah. So in volume 20, mine actually retained the lineup, which I get. It was Red River, Yugi, and Hanakimi, and I was like, so all of those have
and
gotten
like series and sensual phrase and like all these other ones that were in like mature or like 18 plus territory, and then Place Save My Earth. And then Hanakimi and Boys Over Flower. Like it was an interesting mix the whole time.
Yeah, well, I just thought it was funny because those three, I was like, well, so Red River is getting an anime, Hanakimi got a bad anime, and Fushigi Yugi is beloved still, and here's Please Save My Earth. And like, I get why we put it here.
Having a moment of reflection.
Yeah, I was like, but then we do things like, what's Sev Oru doing here? Like...
And he could have, like, it was, again, I remembered so much nothing about any of the things that happened in the second half. I was like, oh man, this could go several real bad ways. And then the bad way it went was not nearly as bad as the way I was thinking, but it was still really heartbreaking.
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, they don't really love each other because they're 11, and she's just like, I just want to get a boy in my pants.
He's like, you're pretty. And she's like, I want to have sex with someone who's
she's just like, you're a boy.
Simple creatures.
Yeah. But then pretty quickly, he comes back at one point and is like, you get this story from him. He's in the circus. His dad is in the circus. His dad is the circus leader. He's so cool and buff and like
he's
cool.
The strong man, like men are supposed to be, and not cry like her dad who cried all the time.
Yeah, like your dad didn't know how to dad, so cool. But then he comes back fairly quickly and is like, Mokuren, my dad got into an accident at the circus and it's not good and he'll die if you don't come and help him. And she's like, oh, bro.
Like I don't, there's a few real old ones that have healing powers, but I could sing to the flowers, dude. Like that's what I got for you.
Yeah. And so then they have a hard coming to reality moment because he died. And I think this is what gets Mode in trouble is...
Yeah, because she's been lying. Mokuren's been lying all this time about going out. And Mode kind of knows and has confronted her about it and gave her the chance to tell the truth, and she didn't. And then, Mokuren comes crying to her about her boyfriend and how they need to go, petition the elder and go save his life. And you're just like, And she has like she's so unaware of anything political that she's never really questioned or wondered anything about Mode. Like she's really very self-centered, which makes sense in the context, but like she doesn't realize that she's, basically gonna get Mode fired. And Mode doesn't have to do it, but she does. Like she tries to go through the proper channels to get help, but it's just gonna take too long. So then he dies and she gets to go to the funeral and he won't even talk to her and everything is sad.
Yeah.
And then Mode gets fired.
And then Mode gets fired.
Mode gets fired.
And then Mokuren's like, no, I do not accept Mode being fired. And they were like, okay, gumption girl. Here's your nun back.
It's so wacky, right? You're like, I'm not sure what they were trying to teach her there. Like, putting anybody else with her was not going to make her more compliant. But also, like, I appreciate that she did not want Mode to get in trouble for her own choices.
Yeah, it felt like a thing where it was like, we have to show a parallel to Shion and then break, like do it slightly differently than how it worked for Shion, right? Because it's like he starts with a different nun person and then does get put with a different one, and that one is better. But here it's like, no, Mokuren just doesn't accept. She's like, Mode is my best friend, give her back, right? Like,
yeah, and it's weird though, because you're like, I don't know. I have a lot of complex feelings about her relationship with Mode, because I don't think a power dynamic like that can really lead to friendship. Like, I think Mokuren thinks Mode is her friend because she does everything Mokuren wants and meets her every need and helps her with stuff.
Like
and I'm just like, that's not exactly what, like, somebody who has to do everything you tell them to. Like, that's just real hard for that to be a friendship. Like,
yeah.
It's a relationship of some kind, but like, it's not.
I mean, Mode is also there to try to like keep her in the indoctrination pipeline.
Yes.
Yep, right?
To try to keep her happy enough to not keep saying things like, I just need to fornicate and then I can be out of here.
Yeah. Casual. Yeah, versus like, you can see how Shion becoming friends with these nun figures is like, it could be a genuine friendship because Shion is the one who's just like, I'm here. Like, they don't have to appease
he has to
everything.
Do what they say.
Yeah.
To some extent.
They're his caretaker.
Right. But but the dynamic is a little bit different between the different kinds of caretakers and the different environments that they're in. Yeah, it's complicated.
Yes. So then we get the introduction of the elder, as Mokuren is aging. We get the introduction of this elder who I was like, we're really making things up now.
She's like Hichi Sargelin Pope or something.
Yeah.
I think Saki Hiwatari just wanted to draw some really strange characters. She did continue doing that throughout this whole thing, like the random police guy who came in at one point.
Yeah. Oh, the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper when Boone went to buy the grapefruit. I was like, what is happening right now? Like,
somebody did not check her work and tell her no.
I was like, this is, and he's only in that one frame, so you're like, you didn't have to do this. Like, what is this?
She clearly did have to do that.
She did not have to do that. Why? Anyway, questions. I have a lot of them. So we get this elder who like knows that Mokuren is defiant and all this stuff.
It just thinks it's hilarious.
Yeah, just thinks it's funny. And is like, yeah, you can go to the moon. Why not? Like what?
Everyone else says no. I say, sure, why not? And also, she has psychic powers and has visions and stuff. So that she's aware of some important something or whatever. But yeah, also.
Because Mokuren has gotten into it. Like, she goes to school and she's like, I'm qualified to go on this moon mission. And I want to go because Earth is so cool. And it reminds me of my daddy's eyes and like all this stuff, right?
Oh.
And so everybody's like, no, nobody's going to let you go. You're like a special, powerful being in the society. And the elder's just like, nah, let's see what happens.
It's a couple years.
It's a couple years. It's her fate. It's good. Send. You're just like, wow, it's easier than I thought, huh? Okay.
And it wasn't, right? Because she had to fight and fight and fight and fight to get it up to that level. But then when she did get to that level, I'm just like, yeah, fine, go.
Yeah, just fine. Stop. Shut up. Just shut up.
And she went in like ready for bear. Like she was ready to go. And then when the elder was just like, yeah, sure. She was like, wait, what? What'd
you say? Say it again. Okay, so we get to the part where Mokuren, gets to meet all our moon people, and we're gonna do the moon thing, and we're gonna see a lot of the same scenes that we already saw, but from a different point of view. and maybe with extra characters, mostly Gokuran. I shouldn't say that. There were a lot with Enju and Shosuren too.
Yeah.
Shisuren.
And there was a little bit that sort of prepared you for this, right? Mokuren has struggled. She went to college, she went to graduate school, she got a PhD. She never really made friends.
Right.
And she knew why. That when she was talking to Mode one time, she was explaining, I'm pretty and smart and the very embodiment of grace and charm. No woman wants a friend like that. But they sure like to gossip about me. Well, I hope it makes them feel better. And I have to say, you know, as we talk about sometimes seeing ourselves in manga characters, I am guilty, not of the gossiping or being mean or anything about it, but I'm definitely guilty of being like, oh, that person's really attractive. And just never even trying to get to know them because I make assumptions about their lives and that they must have been easier. And I just never even give myself the opportunity to get to know them. And so as much as I was like mad at the gossipy girls that she kept running into and how hurtful that was, I was like, you know what? I don't really get to cast stones here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I don't gossip about them, I guess, but I definitely have this like fear of being like, look at these very pretty people. I can't talk to them. They're so good looking. And then like, you know, I don't know, like I worked with people where I was like, look at all you pretty like literary socialites, and then I'm like your gremlin little pet. But it's okay, we all talk about books, so you like me still, you know. That's kind of the dynamic I have.
But as I like situations, right, where you end up in a situation where you do have to work with somebody and then you actually do get to know them. And here's the place where she struggles, which is vulnerability. She really wants to be close to people. She wants to connect to them. She also wants to be seen as really capable and perfect. And yes, she can't have both. And that's another one of those like, in an interesting way that is a parallel with Shion. He wants closeness. He wants connection. He wants family. He wants people to love him. He does not want to be vulnerable, and you kind of have to be to connect with people. So both of them struggle with allowing themselves to be honest and vulnerable. And that's why they struggle so much to connect with people. And that's sad. It's hard to watch.
Yeah, like Mokuren comes into it being like, I'm purposely gonna put on this act because I've, gone to school and seen how this one way didn't work. So I'm gonna put on a different mode of being here. And it still didn't go according to Keikaku.
She totally spiked herself again. Like it was really hard. It was harder to watch that scene with her like voiceover narrative because she's like, yeah, this time I'm going to connect with everybody. I'll be even more perfect than before. And you're like, oh no, honey, that's why you haven't been able to connect. No. Like you gotta. And then she has that opportunity. They all go watch her perform and she screws up. And then she's like, nope, I have to be extra perfect. Like I can never let them see that I'm a normal human being. But what I really want is for them to see that I'm a normal human being. Oh, I'm sure that you have never been in a situation where you do the exact opposite of what you know you need to do. And you're in the background screaming and being like, why? Why am I doing this?
Don't we all do this?
Right. But it's like, she's still young. I do have to remind myself that she's still really young here. And so the fact that she isn't really able to take that step back and be like, it seems like I'm doing the opposite of what I want to do.
Yeah. And then
I should stop.
Like by the time they get to the moon, and they're all like actually kind of trapped together, she starts doing things that she's like, this will make them like me. And then it still, like backfires in some way, like the scene. So we start to get the reconfiguration of all the scenes, right? Like, so there's the one scene where, she starts to show everybody because they get homesick. She starts to show them the image that they have in their mind of home. And for everybody that works, except for Shion, like he didn't ask for it. And you kind of get like, I kind of hate this because I'm like, okay, are you trying to parallel that this is like Shion assaulting her, but she's like assaulting his mind. Like, they're not equivocal in my opinion.
They're not equivalent. They are both violations, but they're definitely not equivalent. But I feel like what they're trying to show is that, and she's aware of it too, right? Like she knows that she screwed up. Like she knows that that was wrong and inappropriate, and she tries to apologize, and he handles it in his usual terrible, awful way. But until he does that, you're a little more sympathetic with like him being mad at her initially, and then you're like, you see what he did, and you're like, dude,
I know, yeah.
You have to escalate everything to 100, like really?
He does. In fact. Yes.
Yeah, so that was dumb. But yeah, she does have moments where like she does a kitschy thing, I think, for each of them, and it's really helpful. But she doesn't realize that doing helpful kitschy things for them it's not a connection. It's not the human to human connection that she wants. And that like she wants to help and make people feel better, but she also wants to connect with them on a human level, but she doesn't want them to see that it's just very
and then she gets like mad when she's like, all they like me for is my kitschy stuff, and I'm like, well, you keep showing it to them.
All you
like,
show them, right? Yeah.
All you do is sing to plants and show them the images in their mind, and then like walk around naked to make them think you're beautiful. Like, what are you doing? Like, I really thought, like, again, I don't know. I'm naive, I guess. I was like, okay, maybe the scene where she's naked and Shion and Gyokuren see her, like maybe it was part of her machinations, like on purpose, right? Because she had got, like, we had all these stories of her where she was obsessed with clothes. Like, she clearly went to school. Like, there was no reason for it to be that forgetful. So I was just like, maybe at this point she's just like, yeah, I just really want to sleep with a man, you know, she's just trying to trap them. But no, it was forgetfulness.
And that's one of the things that's brilliant, because some scenes where you're expecting one thing, basically in all the scenes you're expecting something and it's not what you get. No. And it's like she's building a character that is complex and consistent with itself, but like everything you thought looking at it from the outside is not what's actually going on the inside. And that is one of the running themes of this, right? Which is we make assumptions about people. We guess that we understand what's going on. We think we're connecting, but if we do it without complete information, we're generally wrong. And sometimes that's sort of innocent, and sometimes it's really harmful. And that was just really funny. Especially because she gets a letter from Mode who's like, hey, Mokuren, hope you're not ditzing out, and that you're paying attention and not like walking around naked and stuff.
And singing to plants. Like,
that'd be really dumb. And yeah, she's like, oh my gosh, she knows me so well.
She knows me so well. I did all of those things immediately.
But what's funny is she's thinking that in her head, like, she got me and she totally knows me. But in her response, it's like perfect kitschy, like, no, of course I wouldn't do that. And you're just like, she can't even be honest with it. Yeah. So she does, like, I wish things had been different between her and Enju and Shusaran, but it's hard because, you know, Gyokuren is not interested in Enju. Enju is in that kind of single-minded love where she at one point says something like, you know, real love is, if love's genuine, no amount of time or distance or cold shoulders would sway your heart. And, you know, she's very much of that, like, I will love him forever. That's her password, right?
Yeah, yeah.
She's so obsessed with him.
These passwords really, they needed to invent one password for these jokers because they are given very unsecure passwords.
And some of them are so dumb. Like it was like very revealing in a hilarious and sometimes heartwarming way when at the end when they're doing that roll call of all the passwords and you're just like, oh man, some of these people.
All of them.
But
all of them.
All of these people. But so obviously, Gyokuren is just head over heels for Mokuren. So he's even less likely to give Enju the time of the day. I'd like to take this moment to say that I blame Gyokuren for everything.
Okay.
Like,
that's fair.
He volunteered to come here after he found out that Shion and Shikaido were coming. He didn't need to do that at all. And so him inserting himself into this dynamic is really what made everything fall apart. So anyway, I don't hold it against you, Jinpachi, but Gyokuren. So And then you've got Shusuran, right? The friend who's watched Enju have this obsessive love for years and years and years that she's just never going to get rid of. And so there's no way she could ever see Mokuren as anything other than an obstacle to her friend's love, even though the actual obstacle to her friend's love is her friend's stubbornness and the person that she likes not liking her back. Like, it feels hard but realistic to me that that's why their dynamic doesn't work out as women together, is because none of them can see Mokuren for who she is, and she won't let them. So that's kind of on her too. But there's some stuff she can't control this. But man, Shusuran takes every opportunity to have like the least kind, compassionate take on Mokuren possible. And that's hard to watch because you have more interiority for Mokuren now, and she's less perfect than you thought she was, but that actually makes her more sympathetic when, you know, you see her in these dynamics where the other women are just, I mean, Shusuran's kind of mean to her. Enju generally seems to be quite polite, but like they're not connecting. And she was hoping that maybe they could.
Yeah, I'm like, it makes sense. Especially since Shusuran must be so frustrated watching Enju. Like, she has to watch Enju love Gyokuran, and Gyokuran love Mokuren, and be like, everybody in this situation is annoying. I just like really hate all of you, kind of.
She doesn't have to be here either. Like, that's the other thing. Like, her password is, I'm sick of babysitting Enju. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't have to. Nobody is making you do this. You chose this. Like, don't make it worse.
Yeah. It's because she's in gay love with Enju and she won't admit it anyway.
Well, and you were right about the outcome of that in the next incarnation. So good call on that.
I was like, most obvious thing I've ever seen with my eyeballs. Okay.
She has her hair and now they're getting married.
Yeah.
So.
I was like, of course. Yeah, I don't know. Like, at one point, I was going to say this earlier with the like Mode, like when you brought up the dynamic between Mokuren and Mode, and the dynamic being, you know, somewhat troublesome because Mode is really just there to do it what Mokuren wants. But I was also like, at one point, there was kind of a queer vibe to that too. Like, there was like one page where I was like, are they about to kiss? Like, what's going on right now? But I try not to read every female friendship as like queer code.
Right.
It was just like one page where I was like, you're drawing them awful close there with their faces. You know?
Yeah, like I think there was going to be like a forehead touch. Like, it had that sort of like, oh, we're really connecting.
Yeah.
Sort of vibe. Yeah. I tend not to read things as sexual unless they're like super, super obvious.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're kissing. I guess that must mean that Jinpachi
so.
really likes her. I was pretty sure, but now I'm real sure.
Yeah.
The other 18 times he said he really liked her, like, I don't know, I wasn't totally sure.
We have to see actions speak louder than words. Yeah.
Yeah. But like that, you know, they were watching, the ladies were watching that soap opera together, and I don't know, like that felt like such a moment of almost connection, but Shusuran's inability to believe that Mokuren might have an ounce of like goodwill or any like goodness in it. Like, it's hard. And again, it's hard in that, oh, I see myself reflected here, where like I am not particularly charitable in my read of a situation, and then later I find out it's just because, and it is usually this kind of situation, right? Like, I have a friend and there's this other person, and this other person does a thing that actually is not bad, but because it hurt my friend, or my friend thinks that hurts them, like I cannot see that other person in a realistic, reasonable way. And that's the thing that humans do that is not great.
Oh, humans. We're so cool.
All right. Hiragi likes her. Yay.
Yeah, I was like, Hiragi is still a non-character here. Why are we writing his name now?
He gets like some short thing in the rest of the plot where you're just like, look at you being,
look at you existing,
a character.
Yeah, look at you existing. That's nice.
You are doing more than just being leader, you know. So yeah, he's there. He likes her. Like, I don't know. I don't even know if he likes her that much. Like,
no, I don't think so. I think
not like the other people.
He's a very non-person.
Or Hiragi. Like, she trusts him to be a decent leader, and like, I don't think they really have Shion seems to even to some extent trust him, at least in the past. Shion changes his mind later.
He does not have leader vibes. I just don't. Anyway, Shukaido also, I feel like, is kind of a non-presence.
He's weirdly like the closest to like the best friend character, in that sometimes she ends up sort of like connecting or confiding in him, or he does that to her. Like he is the first person to really warn her about whatever it is that Gyokuran and Shion have going
Right,
on.
because Shukaido has known both Gyokuran and Shion, so he's like, let me tell you the real story.
He's just like, you want to stay away from this, and here's why. And again, she's just like, wow, that was really mean. And I'm just like, oh, friend.
It's annoying because at one point, Mokuren acknowledges that she's like, oh, I am at a disadvantage because a lot of them have already been friends before, right? Like she's like, Senju and Shusuran were friends before, and then
they were friends with, they went to school with Gyokuran and possibly Shukaido.
Yeah. And so like obviously like Gyokuran and Shion and Shukaido had been a little threesome gang, you know, before. So it's just like at one point I was like, you were so close, you know?
Yeah.
You didn't get it. Okay. So yeah, so the biggest obviously realignments come with Gyokuran and Shion. And again, I feel like Gyokuran, as we discussed, ends up being simplistic, but he's just like annoyingly persistent and always there.
Right. But also, I feel like she doesn't really give him a chance. He seems like the one who's actually closest to realizing and liking and appreciating her as a person. And he keeps trying to connect with her like that. And every time he tries, once you're here in this flashback, you see her being like, oh, I didn't want Gyokuran to see me not looking perfect. And then being like, but I want to connect with him as a human being. And then being like, oh, no, I can't say that because then he'll think something bad about me. And that's why I love the scene with her being drunk, because as much as that's a trope, right? That went in a direction I wasn't expecting. You know, her just basically being like, look, you should like Enju. You two should get together. Like, you'd be great together. You really should just get together, or, you know, let her know that that's like, confront it, right? Like, get it out in the open so that you're not just dancing around each other. She thought that's what would be best for him. So she, you know, was trying to direct him in that way.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like, you can see why she doesn't really give him a chance, because, like, he is the one that both maybe is trying to connect with her on a human level. Like, he wants to do normal, like, we have to weed all the plants that you made grow or whatever.
Made grow again.
Yeah, like, he's trying to do, like, the normal activities with her, but then he also is the one who, like, brings up her being a cliche all the time. And he does also like force a kiss on her, and I'm like, just smack him.
Right. And proposes more than once. And somebody said at one point that, like, for some reason Gyokuran, after all that, still somehow believed that she really was in love with him. And you're just like, she could not have made this any clearer.
This is a misunderstanding that continues to, like, you know,
it's a willful misunderstanding at that
Shion
point.
is like, yeah, obviously Mokuren loved Gyokuran. And it's just like, do you all have eyes? Like, you know, like...
Well, nobody else saw that, though. And, like, he kept treating her the same way. Sorry, I should specify, Gyokuran did. So, like, even after she rejected him, like, he just kept being really solicitous and nice to her all the time. So nobody knew that she had rejected him either time that she rejected him. And she even had that moment where, you know, she was thinking about that idea of, like, you know, well, he actually is kind to me. Could I fall in love with him?
No, the heart wants what it wants, which is Shion, apparently.
For reasons unclear to everybody. But if you've ever known somebody who has been in an abusive relationship, like dating relationship early on, like, that is in fact exactly the pattern. And it's just as hard to see in fiction as it is to see in your own friends around you. Also, that time when she was drunk telling him off, he had a moment of real maturity, which is when he thought she went too far. He put up a sort of gentle boundary and was just like, I think that's far enough on that topic, and that felt really good. And then he proposed to her again anyway, and you're just like,
he doesn't see it. He doesn't.
I'm curious, what do you think he thought? Because in the face of her just being like, no, like, why would he keep trying and hoping for a different answer? Like, I appreciate that he didn't start being a jerk to her or anything, that he just kept treating her, kindly. But like, does that work? Like, do people really believe that works?
Yeah, part of me is like, I think that people can't believe she would truly be in love with Shion, right? Like, they're just like, no, she doesn't.
He's so mean to her. He's so cruel to her that, yeah, I totally would be on the same team of like, no, there's what?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know like what makes Gyokuran tick other than, again, like he just thinks that he's super morally correct. And like, even though she's a Kiche, like because she's a Kiche, she's so like sheltered and ignorant and wouldn't understand.
Maybe if he just keeps loving her, eventually her bucket will fill and she'll be like, oh, wait, I really do like you.
Yeah. Hard work pays off.
I mean, that does actually sound very Japanese. So maybe that is like a trope or a cultural thing that's the problem, is that's just like a cultural thing that I'm just bouncing off of.
Yeah. But yeah, so we get to the place with Shion where it was not better than you thought it was. It's in fact worse.
Yeah, I also think there's such an interesting dynamic between he and Enju, because he was so mean to Koko, right? The other person who liked Gyokuran. And so it seems kind of odd to me, but like he really does seem like he also thinks that it would be good for them to get together and that they should just do that and be happy. And it would, like, that's what he wants. He just tries to get to it in the most, sideways, unproductive way that you possibly can, because he's real awkward with this kind of stuff. But yeah, he's just using his prickliness to pick at her. And I guess if you have always been raised in a fairly, like, she was raised in paradise, right? So like, I don't know. It's not like everybody liked her. She's had her fair share of rejection, but it's like her first time being with people who are openly mean to her since like the little kids making fun of her back in paradise. I don't know. Well,
yeah. So with Shion, we get confirmation that everybody's like, no, it was assault and she should have lost her Kichi, which like creates the continuing tension between Shion, Rin, Mokuren, Alice, because in both their heads they're like, the fact that she didn't lose it means that the other one didn't love them, right? Like,
yeah, there were so many different opinions on what that meant that I thought that was fascinating, right? Because she, like, early in her super rebellious days, when she was joking around about, fornicate and I can go free, like, it was made clear that it was the loss of virginity that caused the loss of the Kichi, but then everybody was talking about it as an act of love. And so, but practically that didn't make sense, because I feel like the Kichi were seen as inviolate because the idea of violating one was such a cultural taboo that I didn't really sense that love really had anything to do with it. But I don't know. Everybody else seemed to have different ideas about what they thought it meant. So Gyokuran and the girls all thought it meant that, like, it didn't count because she didn't submit in some important way, and so she was still holy and sanctified and whatever, and she thought it meant he didn't love her, and he thought it meant she didn't love him. And you're just like, all of you all are in very different places about this.
And so we get this, like Mokuren's like, okay, he didn't love me, but I still do love him. And you're like, what? You have no reason to love this man. Like, it was frustrating to me because we got the backstory with Sev Oru. Like, she has some experience with it, like dating and trying to get guys and realizing like shallow love and all this stuff. And I was like, how do you not see it? You know, like
she, again, like seeing those scenes again from her perspective, one of the things that I thought was so heartbreaking and also seemed pretty realistic is that like once he said the words I love you, she did not hear anything else that he said. She just went into this like contemplative spiral about, he said he loves me. Oh my gosh. Well, I love him too. This is great. Like, and he's saying all these other horrible, horrible things that would be huge red flags. And she's not hearing them because she's in this little world in her head where she thinks her dream is coming true. Like this thing that she's always wanted. Like that's what she's thinking about. And she just sort of shuts the part of her brain off, or the part of her brain that would normally be thinking about this. It just is not present. And that's hard. And then on the other side of it, she admits that part of why she reacts the way she does is because she is proud and she doesn't want anyone to know that she screwed up or made a mistake. Like she's back to that whole, like, this is who I am. This is who I have to be. This is who I have to show to everyone else. So she's willing to gaslight everybody else into playing along with her act that everything is good. And this was exactly what she wanted, even as she's quietly miserable and hurting. And now even further away from being able to connect with any of them. It's rough.
That makes sense, I guess. And yeah, like we get some further understanding of Shion's perspective, where it's like he does regret what he did, but then treats her like delicately, right? Going forward. Like you're like, okay, they both do love each other and we never see them kiss, like consensually.
Right. As far as we know, I don't know. They did talk about, she mentioned that sometimes after Gyokuran died, he would ask if he could hold her. But I actually, do you get the sense that that was like to sleep with each other in a sexual way? Or do you get the idea of he just wanted to like hug her like all night? Yeah. That was the sense I got there too. So yeah, like I don't know that they ever, like, I think she's right that after that, he thought of her more as that icon than he did before, because no real human could truly forgive that and act like they loved you. And it's just such a mess.
Yeah. The psychology goes so deep.
Yeah. And you're like watching these two people who want the same thing and technically have what they wanted, sort of just living. I don't know. He seems like he was kind of living in this haze of thinking, you know, oh, everything is forgiven. I don't know. But he also said he didn't think that she loved him because she kept the kitschis. Like, what were they doing? Yeah. What were they doing?
They were both like, now it's awkward and we're just awkward.
And they're just playing house, even though they're the rescue people.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
I do. Okay, so before we go on to the climax, I think this is relevant to bring up for the climax. Yeah. I did love the scene where she was like, they're the last two people, right? And so they're like weeding for the 50 millionth time. And she's like, can I make you do it all if I tell you the like ultra secret government, like the government doesn't even know, it's too powerful, like secret about our singing and prayers and the ultimate prayer and stuff? And he was like, no. Go on. Like, are you gonna tell me or not? Like, ugh, tell me. And she's like, oh, you want to know?
Like that, yes, that was the kind of like actual playfulness type thing where you're like, I don't know, kind of seems like maybe you could actually like have a relationship with each other.
That's like a dynamic, you know, like that's something. So she like, you know, tells him the whole secret, and she's which was that like, why can't I remember what it was? It was
the 50 verses in their scripture that would allow you to kill all life on a planet, which now we understand why that one planet died. And you're just like, oh, that came out of left field.
Yes, and she's like, but it doesn't actually kill all the vegetation or whatever. It just sends it into dormancy, and then you need to sing again, the right song and all this stuff. And so she's like, yeah, so I could have been doing that the whole time, but then it would have messed up like our crops and everything. Like you can't just be like target certain things. That's bad. And he was like, okay. Like at first he's like real mad, right? Because he's like, you could have done that the whole time. And then he's like, all right, fine, I accept your
She's like, we would have starved her,
Yeah.
It's probably not good.
And then after that, she's like, so also I'm going to die because I got the virus. And he's like, what?
And then you sort of learn at some point that her having this conversation with him was probably after she went into his room with a knife at night after she realized she had the virus and tried to contemplate if she could kill him to save him from being the last person alive, and she couldn't do it.
And you're just like, wow, Mokuren really goes hard, actually.
That was intense.
Dang.
Again, like the parallels too, though, because when Shion is talking with Hiragi and he's like, what you should have done when you realized that we were all going to die, was you should have just killed us all. That's what a responsible leader would do. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. So now we've got all the pieces together, right? And so we're going to the climax. It's all action from here, friends. Yeah, so Rin does have one confrontation with Hiragi, as you said, where he uses Hiragi's brother as blackmail to get the final password out of Hiragi.
The second to the last password.
The second to the last password, because he doesn't have Alice's yet, right?
Pretty intense from a non-entity of a character so far.
Yeah. So then Hiragi's like, you don't know that you're going to blow up the moon. And Rin's like, of course I'm going to blow up. That's what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm trying to blow up this moon base and like destroy everything. Like, are you dumb?
We've talked about this.
Are you stupid? Stupid. You're just stupid. Okay. So like, yeah, but then like he just goes on this whole rant about Hiragi where he's like, so you were just a slave to duty, because duty meant if you just followed what somebody had already prescribed to you, meant you didn't have to use your own thinky brain, basically. Yeah. And that you messed up and let us all die. That's not noble, you loser.
And so I think I asked this in the first one, and I'm still curious because before the virus, they really did have an opportunity. Do you think they should have gone to Earth? I also think about the fact that they may have already had the virus, and so maybe they could have wiped out the entire world.
Yeah, you're like, they could have caused a pandemic.
Right. Like, I don't know that it's this unalloyed good that Shion thinks it is. As in, going to Earth, I don't know that would have necessarily meant that you lived any longer. Your pinky size, like, it's just... Yeah. It's very simple for him to latch on to, like, if we'd only been able to go down on Earth, we could have all died together.
They could have been eaten by a bunny on Earth. You don't know. That could have been fun. A fox just eats them,
Right? They land on Earth and a bear steps on their spaceship and they all die. The end.
But they got to go. They tried. I think the it's really about the trying, like the lack of trying, right? Like Hiragi's just like, no, this is what we're doing, and doesn't try to think of any other possible solution.
And but at the same time, I mean, I don't think any of them were having their best thinking.
No. None of them was having the best thinky thoughts at this point.
So like, yeah, I could see a rule follower sort of resorting back to following the rules. But at the same time, I'm also like, why? You're not going to get in trouble. Like there's literally nobody left alive. So in cases like that, when you try to think about like, what's the morally right thing to do? I don't know. I don't feel like there's a real easy answer.
No, there's not. But as you said, they didn't say the mouth words that would, make you believe one way or the other that they're correct in any way. Like, you're like, oh.
Yeah. our mission is to observe. And so, yeah, but the people who gave you the mission are gone. Like, it also, I was just thinking a lot about that idea of integrity and like, you know, what it means to do the right thing when nobody's watching. And you're like, okay, but no, in this kind of situation, like, I don't know what the right thing is when the whole civilization is gone.
The whole thing is gone. So let's transition to, the very end here with that. Because I feel like most of the twists make sense. I think the one that you're kind of like, oh, is that what we were doing the whole time? Is that Shion admits that like the whole thing he's trying to prevent is humans doing war. And so you find out like in that part where you get all this dark twist about Jinpachi, like the vibe gets really weird.
Yeah.
There's also Rin is very scared seemingly of what insane Shion has done. Like he's like,
right,
Shion built this thing,
right?
I don't remember what it is, but I'm scared, right? Because he's insane.
Right. And he sort of knows what Shion was obsessed with when he died, and so all he can think of is he must have built something to support that, you know, being a god and saving the world weapon sort of thing.
Yeah.
He can't imagine any more innocent like thing that an insane dude in his situation would have done alone on the moon for years. Like, so that's, in some ways, I feel like that's fair. Like,
yeah. You know, I'm like,
just assuming
that's good. That was a good mask.
Nefarious.
That was a good mask. Yeah. So Shion, you know, as Rin has Shion's consciousness in his mind, is like, I want to prevent war because humans are so bad at, like, I would watch footage from the war in Cambodia when I was left on the moon base by myself, and I was just like, this is so sad. I need to prevent anybody from becoming a war orphan like me. Like, there are so many on Earth. And so I built a machine that we can use, like if we can target specific places on Earth with Mokuren's secret put all the plants into dormancy spell, and then they'll all think that that's like an act of God, and they'll see the error of their ways, and then we can teach them a lesson, and everybody will love each other on the Earth. That's how we'll solve it. And, you know, on the one hand, I was like, you know what? Good on you for not just being the typical like superhero villain who's like, I'm just gonna burn it all down and then we're gonna build it back better, right? Like,
way to think outside the box there.
Yeah, I was like, we're thinking outside of the box at this point. So like, okay, I'm down.
But also clearly insane. Like, also
no, totally
clearly insane because, you know, she just told you can't aim it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. The thing that you're plotting here is not possible in any situation.
Yeah. I mean, again, I feel like one of the failings of this manga was that I was like, I don't feel like anybody mounted a good defense against this other than like the mechanics don't work, right? Like they weren't like, no, human psychology will not lead to this outcome or like any of those arguments, right?
Well,
like,
I mean, that's because I don't I don't necessarily know that they're successful arguments in this case. Like, as much as he was sort of insane, a lot of the things he was saying in that rant, I'm like, he's not wrong. You know, we aren't safe. Like that one part where he was really monologuing there, like where he's like, even though we live in a safe place like Japan, that does not guarantee that we are always going to be at peace. Everything could change tomorrow. And I had this moment of like the day before the war started in Iran, like the children and the parents there had no idea that the next day their children were going to be orphans, or like, he's not wrong about those things. But like with so many of these supervillain type things, it's not that they're wrong about the fact that we are destructive. It's just that if the
methods are
cure is worse than
if the cure is worse than disease,
or equally bad, just in a different way, that's not a solution.
If you can't figure out who should watch the Watchmen, like what gives you the
and then
right
who should
kind
watch
of thing.
the Watching the Watchmen.
Yeah, right. Like this gets complicated. You're not thinking of all the complications here.
It's watchers all the way down. But yeah, like it was interesting because you see this mixing of like Shion and insane Shion and 8-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Like there's a like you almost can't pull them apart, so you kind of see why they landed there. But also, you also see that the thing that they want is for Rin to not choose destruction. They want him to not choose Shion. They want him to not choose the past. All of them, like everybody who's here at this point, has had something that happened to them in their past that they wish had not happened. Whether it was a past life or just, some horrible thing that happened to them. And they don't want him to keep living there when he has another option.
Yeah. Although I will say the other option is like Rin wants to blow up the moon base so that they all can't, like they're free from this whole thing. And so the explanation that we're given is like Rin and Shion were working towards the same, like they needed the passwords for different aims. So they were in this like battle of wills. And you're just like, okay, so you said they don't want destruction. And I'm like, no, they do want destruction. It's just blowing up the moon base and not like attacking places on Earth.
Right, like as in not destroying the Earth. I'm a fan of the not destroying the Earth thing. Also, while we're on that, the passwords is where you find out that Hiragi's name has the word taco in it.
Taco. I think we knew that before, and it was
one
so
of
funny.
them has the word coffee in it, and the other one has the word Roxy. And I was just like, I mean, if I knew that before, I didn't remember that, but it was very funny.
Yes, and Alice's password again was just Shion's full name. Very secure. The whole time you knew it all along, you dum.
Hiragi's password was his name.
Yeah. Again, this is truly like the saddest thing I've ever seen. I understand it was before like personal computers and passwords were like in use by all of us schmucks every day, all the time. But I'm also like, come on now.
Like you're not.
No research into how like government secrets would be handled. Like,
maybe he was like, well, this is the only one I'm going to remember because I'm not even a real character.
I'm not even a real character in this drama.
I mean, come on, even like Shusaran and Enju. Shusaran at least had an interesting one. I don't know. Anyway.
I don't know.
Good times.
Good times, yeah. So in the end, the machine that Insane Shion made was a holographic loop of Mokuren singing and making the plants grow, actually, that they took at Thanksgiving. And so they're like, oh, so the moon base actually is already like incapacitated because the plants would have taken over the world.
Right. And I was, like forever. And I'm like, well, at least until they run out of oxygen, because like oxygen, regeneration is
I was also like, hold up. If the singing destroys all the computers, then how is the hologram run? Like, how is the projection running anymore too? Like, I was like, this doesn't make sense. But
I mean, let's just say that it's definitely not going to be able to be used to blow anything up from now
yes,
on.
That part makes sense. But I was like, the rest of it doesn't.
Like we've said all along, right? The rest of the science is a little hand wavy. Like, it's fine. It's the vibe.
Fine. It's good. And then they all live happily ever after, which we will discuss in Shipping Corner. Cool. So nothing really evil totally happened in the end.
It totally did, though. Like, yeah.
Except assault.
I mean.
And staying together with your rapist. Like, icky.
Yeah. Like, the interesting thing is, at least until we get into the, like, and then what happened afterwards part, like, at that point where they're like, oh, okay, we didn't. It's a very exciting, action-packed, psychic battle stuff. Like, okay, yay. Nobody died. Good. But I mostly just felt relief, like that, oh, okay, the world didn't get destroyed. Like, that was an impossible outcome here.
Yeah.
And so that's more what I was thinking about in terms of like, not like, oh no, I guess nothing bad happened, but like, wow, that was a lot of bad stuff that happened. At least it didn't lead to the end of the world.
Yeah. I'm like, nothing like
Yay!
so bad happening. You know, like,
Yeah, like that's, I don't know. No matter how complicated the people are and the situation is, like, nope, that's still evil. Can't make that not happen.
We did also there was damage done to Tokyo Tower, so that's bad.
And then Tamura's sort of adoptive father got to make more money fixing it. Yay! I don't know.
Scam all along.
Ravine was in league with Tamura's boss.
Yeah. It was all a money capitalism scam in the end.
That's what's destroying the earth.
Oh, dang. Okay, so yeah, I think we'll get to what the very end in shipping corner here, but let's do this listeners' questions that we got.
I was
here.
so excited that somebody sent in listener questions. That made me very excited.
Okay, so Samoyed, I don't know how to say this. Some kind of dog breed.
Samoyed lover forever.
Yeah, forever. That Blue Sky does. This is .bluesky.social asked, have you ever seen the OAV for the series? It's beautiful, although understandably pacing is a problem for the amount it adapts. And I have not, but we did bring this up, briefly last time. So you have thoughts.
Yeah, and I watched 4 minutes and 30 seconds right before I signed on with you because I was like, yeah.
A classic move, yeah.
Good thing. The two things that I remembered were in fact true, which is Rin's English voice actress, actually, because it was a lady, was 100% perfect. Everyone else was pretty terrible, but she
got the assignment.
She brought wow, she was impressive. If everyone else didn't suck so much, I feel like that would be a much more enjoyable experience. And I think, after this, if I'm still feeling nostalgic, because it was true, just watching the opening and stuff did the job of making you sort of nostalgic. I might watch it in the Japanese. I don't know if I did originally. Also, the song for it is amazing. And I completely remembered it. It was very weird because I was like, oh, this is where that song came from. That has haunted my mind since, 2013 or whenever we got this. It's Yoko Kanno. If you do a lot of anime, that's not going to be unexpected to hear. But it was so very 90s OVA. Oh my goodness. Wow, that was a time. And also, we talked about this before too. Cliff's Notes. It's that idea of the first 8, possibly 9 volumes in 5 episodes, 5 30-minute episodes. So no, it's just an
ad for the manga.
Yeah, it is, right? And they knew they were never going to be able to adapt the rest of it. So the 6th episode is it's just a bunch of screenshots from what might have been if the rest of it had been able to be animated. So it is completely incoherent.
Wow.
It's something where if you've read it, then watching it probably makes sense. Maybe I should say if you've read it and liked it or enjoyed it or thought it was well done, then it's worth checking that out. But if that's your only exposure to it, my sister, she hates the series with the passion of 1,000 burning suns just because that's all she ever saw of it was that OVA.
Oh.
It had terrible voice acting except for Rin, and it had Rin. Rin was what she hated most. And
I know. I was like, well, Rin is the worst.
Yeah, he is. And again, that voice actor's performance, 100%. But yeah, so when I said I was going to be talking about this with you on this, she was just like, oh, I hate that show so much. I'm like, yes, I know. I'm aware. And then she's like, one of my other friends was like, well, do you think we'd she'd like it better if she read it? And I'm like, no, she hates tragedy and dress, so no, she would hate every minute of reading it too. So
Rin's still bad. God. Anyway,
it is awful, but yes, it is. It is beautiful, and despite myself just watching the intro, animation and that ending song, I was just like, it perfectly brings that feeling of nostalgia. It nails it so hard. Maybe don't watch it, but go listen to the song.
Yeah, I was like, what I'm getting is go listen to the opening or whatever.
It's lovely.
So their second question was, if it got a remake like Red River's upcoming anime, what would be your dream team to adapt it?
Yeah, so that's interesting. We talked about how like it's, even though we were joking about that in both Red River and From Far Away, which were advertised in some of the earlier volumes, because they were being published at the same time. This can't get an adaptation. If it did, though, I might actually say Studio IG, which is who did the original version of it. But I might have some different thoughts about like directors and character designers and things like that. But Production IG does good work on these things within the constraints that they have. So, and if somebody gave them $1 million, I'd like to see what they could do with it.
Yeah, I'm like, I said last time that it reminds me kind of other 90s anime, like it just runs on vibes, right? Like Escaflowne and like other stuff, mashing up all these different kind of genres and tropes and vibes. And so like, I mean, like Escaflowne also had Yoho Kana, like we're already part of the way there. Like
yeah, and I mean, if you wanted some real striking character designs, the character designer from Escaflowne, like I bet that would be an interesting take on these characters. Her art style changed so much across volumes and across chapters and stuff for this that I feel like that would actually kind of be a challenge for somebody to adapt that into a consistent, coherent character design.
Just make all their noses really long. No.
Yes, and
kidding. But anyway, I wanted to talk about some of the author's notes.
Some will not be discussed.
Some will not be discussed, like the whole dieting rant.
Oh my lord!
No thanks.
And every time you opened up a new one, and that was the beginning of the first comment, you were like, "Oh no, not again, please no." Also, such an interesting window into the '80s Tokyo.
Yeah, we got a lot of. There was one volume where it was all just about video games, like playing Final Fantasy 4 and Dragon Quest or whatever.
I was curious if you've played Final Fantasy 4 and do you see any parallels between it and Please Save My Earth?
Oh, I have not played 4. No, I've only played like 7 onwards. Not even all of those.
This was a while ago.
I know. When 4 would have, like, I don't know. She was talking at the end about like Super Nintendo too. Like that was my first gaming system.
Yay!
But I would have been like very small. Like I didn't know how to play anything because I was like 4.
I did crack up a little bit when she talked about the fact that like mobile gaming systems meant that suddenly people were spending a lot of time in the bathroom gaming, and I was just like, that's such a
Game Boys, really the downfall.
The downfall of Western civilization.
Yes, Game Boy. Very good. But I liked the final volume, or like the final 2 volumes maybe, were like about the characters who just like escaped her, right? Like they just did things that she did not plot, but when the moment came up, she just did it, right? And one of them was about Reen, which the scene that we discussed last time where we were like, is Reen being genuine right now? Or is this like a machination where he's like pretending to be genuine to get Alice to trust him more? And what I got out of this author note was like, oh yeah, no, see, it was genuine because
I did not plan that.
I didn't plan this at all. He just popped out of here.
I'm curious if that's your experience with writing too, though, because I have definitely had that happen when I've written fiction where you're just like, I'm sorry, what did you just say?
What did you do now?
My careful plot is, you can't do that to it.
Oh yeah, no, I feel
watch me.
I currently have, how many pages is it? It's like a 70-page like notes document, writing out all these different thoughts I have about a story. I'm only like 2 chapters deep on, right? And I'm like, I've written all of these notes and all this stuff and all these character, like sheets, and done all of this work, and this is not gonna go according to Keikaku, right?
Soon as I sit down and start writing these chapters, they're gonna be like, hey friend,
yeah,
better idea.
Like, I'm gonna get to chapter 4 and be like, this is already off the rails. And I was like, This is not
I like to
going
say
well.
none of it is ever wasted, though, because the time you spent thinking through that is maybe what allowed that character to grow into their own rebellious being.
I mean, we'll see. If I can make it to the end, that would be great.
Follow them where they lead.
Yeah. Like sometimes, you realize stuff as you're writing, right? Like you're like, oh, that's a good idea, or like this doesn't make any sense anymore. Like, it makes sense that once you start to actually work through it in true detail, you're like, oh, that's not how that would go.
That isn't what they, and sometimes it's just like how they talk or what they say or whatever, but sometimes you're like, no, actually that isn't what they would do in that situation, is it?
Yeah.
I needed that for my plot, but they are not interested in my plot. They're interested in what would actually happen.
Yeah, they're interested in their own life and like how they would behave in it,
I also loved that Alice was one of the other ones that kept getting away from her. She was like, yep. And then Alice like grabbed her wallet and ran away. And I was like, that was not supposed to happen. Like,
what do I do now?
And then she ran into him on his way back from the store. And you're like, oh, right. Okay. And she's like, so then,
like, I had to make her run into him because she wasn't supposed to run away.
And then she passed out on the park bench, which is also not what I was like. So you're just like, Alice,
you sloppy one, my friend.
Well, for as passive as she often seemed, you mentioned this too. You're like, yeah, she's the main character. In the first half, you're like, except she's kind of not.
Even in the second half, I'm like,
Mokuren was the main character.
Yeah, like Mokuren.
100%. All the rest of them were bit players in this little drama.
Yeah. I was like, do we need all these characters? Like, you didn't need Hiragi. Anyway.
Mr. Taco was vital.
No, Mr. Taco was not vital. Anyway. One of the other notes overtly mentioned that she was like, okay, so lots of people picked up this book because it's called Please Save My Earth, and they thought it was going to be like an environmental book, but it's not.
Including you.
Yeah, I know. I know.
That was great.
I was like, salty on me, I guess. And she's like, I called it Please Save My Earth because humans are like selfish and they need it to be about them. Like it had to be very like inward looking and not outward facing. Like humans are more motivated by like this particular dog or whatever is going to die versus like 100,000 children will die, right? Like that there's like studies that have shown this, right? Like
again, we're living some real life experiencing this right now. So that felt kind of close to home.
And I was like, okay. I mean, I do think that, I'm of two minds, I guess, where I'm like, okay, I mean, Shion's thing about preventing war kind of felt out of left field at the end, even though that was ostensibly what it was supposed to be about the whole time, apparently. And I was like, it's not that she didn't seed that, right? Like, yes, he was a war over. Like, she didn't not seed the motivation, but it just was like, but that's not what you spent a lot of time emphasizing,
right?
In the world building and stuff.
Yeah, like his PTSD around this was something you knew about the whole time, but wasn't a focus really at all. And so, it did kind of feel like if that was a boomerang that you let go, I forgot about it by the time it came back around.
Yeah, versus like, the thing about the quiches being like singing and the plants and like that's Alice's power. Like that just feels like it's always present and comes back in new ways frequently in the story versus like the war orphan thing is usually only brought up to be like, well, Shion is really mean and sad, but I mean, he was a war, right? Like
he's got reasons to be kind of prickly. Yeah. And another quote that she had in one of those was, I think recreational reading gets much more interesting when serious, stuffy ideologies are included. And I feel like that's kind of what she's talking about here. But it didn't, like, if you talk about themes of the work, it's definitely much more about faith and rebirth and the past and connecting and like all of these things we've been bringing up throughout. And I think those are still the themes there, right? It's the idea of like connecting with each other matters. enjoying the world and being happy in it is a way that we avoid war, and it's a way that we are less self-centered, and that's possibly being more subtle and gracious than it deserves. But that's, as you were talking about that, like, yeah, that was kind of what was coming to mind for me, is that, but yeah, like, it's kind of like, you are a writer, right? So if anybody asks you what your story is about, you can never really give a very satisfying answer other than, please read my story.
Yeah, you're just like, if I start explaining to you, it's going to sound like nonsense. Like,
right. And so, like, to some extent, anytime any author tries to summarize, I'm always just kind of like, I'm not, whatever. Okay, so if that was in the back of your mind this whole time, that's fine.
it's part of why I don't even, like, I go into books and I'm just like, that cover, like, there will be something that piques my interest, but I go into lots of books and I'm like, I didn't read I have no idea what this is actually about, you know?
Right.
And, like, I don't want to read the marketing copy because
it's not super helpful most of the time.
Like,
actually, this was back from the Viz days where it was kind of helpful. Like, they didn't just have, like, now they'll tend to have that blurb that's just the generic blurb for the series. They won't have the, like, this specific volume. Here, just kind of a summary of what happened. So yeah, it's interesting. I would also, because she talked throughout about, how, 6 months in, she started to have an idea of where she thought it was all going to go. And then by, like, sometime in 1991, she more or less knew how it was going to end. And then sometime in 92, she had 90% confidence about, like, so the idea of what was in your mind the whole time. I don't know. She started thinking about flowers, right? That tree.
Yeah.
That pretty tree in the backyard. And, like, I should write something about flowers and a shy girl.
I was glad she admitted the first 2 volumes were like, I didn't know what I was doing.
I was just trying to figure that out at that point. And again, like we talked about, right? Like, she was told it was going to be a 2-volume series. And then partway through, they were like, haha, just kidding. It's going to go on forever.
It's going to go on forever. As long as people think it's popular.
7.5 years. That's fine, right? Oh, there was she mentioned somewhere that the translation of the Korean title was something more like Guardians of the Earth.
Yes, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right. And I was just like, I don't know that that's more accurate.
No.
Yeah, but
it really makes them sound like a superhero. Like,
right. Like, I'm like, I think it would be even less accurate than Please Save My Earth.
Yeah. I was like, no, I don't like that. No, thank you. Okay, shipping corner. We gotta say how we feel about all these ships, because there were a lot in the end. Ugh, okay.
Most of them are like, nope.
Nope. Yeah. No, like, almost all of them are like, nope. But so Seb, Oru, and Mokuren. No. Mokuren's parents, sure. Like, again, we didn't get a lot of her mom and her dad.
Apparently, she wanted to pick on him, and he needed someone to pick on him. Sure. They rescued each other.
Relationships have been built on flimsier premises, sure. Kyokuren and Enju.
I love your comment here.
Girls in this manga really need better taste. They do. All of them. Every single girl in this needs better taste.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know, in another manga, maybe they would have been okay for each other, but you can't make someone like you if they don't like you. It doesn't work. So.
I know. She wasn't even, like, trying that hard anyway.
As Shusaran said, I do not understand what you like about him at all. And she's like, I like everything everyone else hates about him. And you're like, well, I don't know if that's a real good basis for a relationship.
This isn't good. This is not good. Gyokuran x Mokuren. Yeah.
Again, I kind of feel like if it were another manga that didn't have any of these other characters, and maybe they could actually... Right?
The typical
with
leads.
Each other. Yeah, like maybe. No. Just stop if she says no that many times, please. Stop if she says no once.
No. No means No.
Please do keep being nice to her and don't be a jerk about it. But like, stop.
Yeah, I'm just like, listen, you can keep trying. You just don't have to like ask every time. You know,
You can be
like,
as winsome as you want to try to win her heart, but just stop asking.
Like, just take a hint, okay? Like, I don't know, man. Like, you gotta regroup. You gotta give yourself time to regroup. Okay. Anyway, Issei and Sakura. I was like, yeah, that's laying here. That's obvious.
You predicted that ahead of time. Although I did like how ribald they were about like why they got together.
Oh yeah, I was like, Issei, how dare you have said that?
You budding hairstylist, you.
Yeah. Oh, he does have the vibes of the hairstylist and like kind of affection, doesn't he? Yes. They're like, he's trying to become more manly, and he's like, I don't know. It wants Sakura basically, and you're like, whoa.
I love how embarrassed they both look as that's being related.
Don't say that. Don't.
They're just like, yeah, well, we were surprised too, but
you were surprised. You're the only people who are surprised. Everybody who had eyeballs could see this. Okay.
Sakura was the one who fell in love first, which actually that does track to me because, Enju was pretty, or Issei was pretty solid the whole time.
Yeah, and she was like, I'm gonna help you get out of here, and then you're gonna look at me.
Yay!
I'm like, okay, fair enough. So Tamura x Ayako, that's the one good one on here. That's good, but she is correct when she said that he doesn't deserve her.
And I have to say that one panel where she drew her really ugly, flipping him off for being a jerk, I was like, yep, they're gonna last.
Yes, they're good. They're solid.
They're gonna make it. Those
and
crazy
they did.
kids.
And then they have these two babies.
Yay.
Yay, just hands.
I feel like he will be like either the best or the worst father. He will definitely be the most embarrassing father.
Yeah, he's got all the dad jokes like lined up. He's good.
He will embarrass you in public every time.
Yeah, it's
gonna be great.
It brings him such joy. So we've got Jinpachi x Issei. We could have been brave, you know. We could have. But okay, wait. We have to bring up. Yeah, in the author's notes, she was like, "I realized I gave Issei something that was too hard to work through in manga," and I was like, "Did you now?" BL manga has something to say.
Yeah, although I think the same, like, no, because of the same problem that they had in their previous life. You can't
the problem
do
is
a
Jinpachi.
one-sided relationship. And Jinpachi is going to be, team Mokuren / Alan forever, or Alice forever.
Yeah, Jinpachi's also just Jinpachi. So
I was trying to think of like, what kind of girl would he get along with? And in 5 or 6 years, maybe 10, like when he's settled into who he is, he'll probably be a pretty decent person.
Okay. Well, so Jinpachi x Alice is no, because he's still just like pushy with Alice as he is with Mokuren. But in 5 or 6 years, is he ready for his one true love?
No!
Ayumi?
Oh, why?
Since nobody remembers who Ayumi is, and that's so fair, she is some random classmate of Rin who is Rin's age. And at the end, it's like, oh, Ayumi really likes Jinpachi, and they've like aged up, right? Like they're graduating.
Yeah, like to 12.
Yeah, they've graduated. So they're graduating like 6th grade, and it's like Ayumi really likes Jinpachi, and Jinpachi's like, and you're like, ew, no, it's bad. Aren't we in a bad enough place here?
I feel like, that was like, did not need that at all.
No, we did not need that detail. So Shion x Mokuren, I'm again like trying to pull off being in love with your rapist when there was really no chemistry there to begin with is not working.
Yeah, like I don't feel like that particular relationship was earned. Like it's there in the end, but I don't feel like, oh, That makes total sense. And I think it's right. Even in the context of the story, it doesn't feel quite.
You're never sold on it, you know,
like it definitely in real life, no, but like in the world of the story, like I do get where she's going with, right? Like now they finally connected, they finally realized that they did in fact both like each other and did like everything they could to make that not work out. Like I guess if they still want that to be together in the end, I guess in the atmosphere,
yeah. But I was just we get a nice corpse shot of Shion with like, flowers growing out of his eye sockets.
He's like, yay, I'll die here. The flowers will grow in my corpse. And you're just like, well, I think you might already be insane here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know. Like, you don't even get that much interiority of Mokuren being like, oh, he's so hot, or like this thing that he did is so, like, you know, like it's just like no,
right? Because we're mostly in Alice's head at the end when that is being told to us that they want to be together, to be the atmosphere in the wind and the clouds forever or whatever. Like, but I do think it maybe is supposed to be that simple. Like they both realize now that the other person loved them and they did things to hurt each other and be dishonest. One of them did way worse things.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, I feel like I've never been so disinterested. Like, even in hot gimmick, I'm like, oh, you see, like you get to be with that the whole time. So you build up to something. Like you don't like it in the end, but you're like, all right, I mean, there's something there. I'm like, I've never been so like, what about a main couple?
And again, like I would say that here though, right? Like I feel like there is something here, but it's all dysfunctional. Like, and maybe it's just that they've realized it was dysfunctional and they want to go back and try again. Like that would make more sense to me than let's go be the sky and the clouds.
I guess. But then the way to make it less dysfunctional is we have Reen and Alice, which I'm also like, no, Alice really liked him in the end. And I'm like, no.
And I was trying to think about that again in the context of the story, because it's one of those things where you're like, in the real world, no, absolutely not. But the real world does not involve situations like the one that is described in this book. So also, I'm curious if all of his use of his powers is going to mean that he dies young, because that would like lend some sort of urgency to something here. But like,
is the urgency that in the sequel?
I would also like to point out that Gyokuran mocking Rin at his field day.
That was good. That was
so
good.
Great.
That was good.
So obnoxious.
But is it that they have to have a baby when Rin is 15? Because I read that is what happened.
You.
I warned you not to talk about Bruno, and yet here we are.
But it's okay. I mean, you know, Bruno did save the day in the end. No, I was trying to do this thing where I'm like, I could see Jinpachi having a decent relationship with another normal human being. Same for Hiragi, I guess. Again, hand wave, Hiragi. Yeah. Daisuke. And, you know, Sakura and Issei are paired up and stuff here. But, like, I don't think after what they went through that either Rin or Alice would be able to form an attachment or relate to anyone else. So, like, it's a relationship. Do I think it's healthy? Even in the situation of the book? I don't know.
No.
It's gross. It just feels gross.
Well, especially since one of the problems that most of them are trying to solve for Reen is that they're like, Reen is all messed up now because he didn't get the opportunity to be a kid because he got all the adult memories of Shion back when he was way younger than all of us. And so now we have to like fix this so that Reen can be a child. And I'm like, okay, 6th graders don't go on dates with 21-year-olds
or whatever.
Yeah, like
And even though he's huge, like they do point that out and stuff too, you're just like, that's not actually really doing the work you think it is. He's taller than she is. That's not.
I'm like, especially, I know like it's fiction and everything, but I'm like,
right.
No, when I see 6th graders now, I'm like, that's a baby. You know, like you can just tell
when
from
I
their
see
face.
21-year-olds, I look at them and think that's a baby. I thought that in college, like when I would see college students in college with me, I would just be like, these are all babies.
We're all babies together.
But again, yeah, in the world of the book, like, yeah, I don't think he could really have a relationship. And I think that who she is as a person who feels so responsible, I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where I'm like, do I see why it ended up there? Sure I do. In the world of the story, that is where you were leading.
I've just never not felt it in my heart so hardcore. You know?
Like, and she talked about like the 3 types of fans somewhere around like volume 14, and it was really interesting because I felt like in her listing I fell under the category of motherly, meaning that I always want everyone to have an earned feeling happy ending, which is, again, if you talk to my sister, she would say that's hilarious considering how many like deeply depressing books and works of literature and stuff I read that you hate everyone and everyone is sad in the end. But like, I want, if there's going to be a happy ending, I want it to feel earned. I want it to feel like in the world of the book, the author got me there in a way that makes sense to me. And I feel so conflicted.
Yeah. Who's OTP? It's Tamura and Ayako. Yeah, we saw that.
That was easy.
That one's easy. We did it. Very good. Okay, well, I think we did Please Save My Earth, which is really, sure was something.
That was a literary work of manga. And depending on your opinions of literature, that will mean different things.
It sure did things and went places.
Earths were saved-ish.
Saved-ish. Yeah, we did it. We did it. It's good.
We survived. That's the important part.
Yeah,
and yeah, I do love comedy manga. I do love, all kinds of manga, obviously, because I own so much of it. But the drama stuff, even though it's harder to go through, it's harder to read through, right? It's much more challenging. I find it rewarding. So I would say if somebody has managed to listen to all of this and has not read it yet,
yeah,
and is like, should I read it or not? I mean, nothing we say at this point is necessarily going to change it. But like, if you like that challenge, if you like that idea of thinking through these things, like, so was Shion redeemed in the end? Was Rin like? And if you're okay coming to the conclusion of like, this is definitely a manga for you.
See, I would say I liked it, but I'm just like, that's fascinating to me because I don't like any of these characters aside from like Tamura and Haruhiko, like the Tamura gang, basically, right? Like,
so she accomplished her thing, which was she wants there to be at least 2 characters that you hate. So you feel like she checked that box off.
Yeah.
But you don't hate them all.
I don't hate them all. No.
So
yeah.
Success in her book as an author.
Okay, great. We're all happy in the end.
Yay!
Yay! Okay. Thanks for listening to Shojo Tell. Comments, questions, constructive criticism, concerns. Need to tell us about your OTP, how much you think Alice and Rin or any of these wacky couples is good. Email shoujoandtell@gmail.com or leave a comment on the episode's YouTube page. We're at Shojo and Tell on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Tumblr. Autumn, where can people find you and your work on the internet?
If you look really hard, you can find my work on Blogger under the moon in autumn under one of 4 possible blogs. None of them are about how much I like Jinpachi.
Very good. Listen. Google knows all, and everybody can find you now. Are you excited every time you see a new episode from us? If so, please consider leaving a rating on Apple Podcasts. This will help the podcast reach more hearts, or at least ears. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back next time for, I don't know, man, Red River, like,
Woo!
I'm just gonna go off the chains now. Like, I don't know.
Adventure, kidnapping, shooting people. It's great.
I'm just digging in now. Don't hold me to that, though, because it might not be that. Whatever it is, stay tuned. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Hey, we've got one too, on your back. You know, a plum. I can see it.
I do, really? Are you sure?
Yeah, it's only a little one though.